Hey. Oh, good morning. Welcome. It's 12:14 on. Wait, what day is it today? Thursday? Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday. Oh, man, I forgot what day it is. It's the 20th now. Hi there, everybody. Greetings. This is David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers by my Native American shaman name. And I'm doing this this live update as a cosmic update, if you will. Things going on in the universe, in our galaxy, in the world, on the planet, interdimensional stuff, and just hit a few topics because some of the things that are going on right now are just absolutely, as I like to say, BCC, that crap crazy. It is. Everybody, and even listening to just Dr. Sam Muggsy tonight, she even used those exact words. She said, people are just going bat crap crazy. And I'm like, oh, that's funny because I've been using that same terminology and have done a couple of videos here on YouTube and also on, hey, Milky Way, what you doing? I got your email. I just sent a message back to you, by the way. So, there went that train of thought. I know I watch Lionel, Lionel Nation, and I know some people just get really upset with poor Lionel, but he graduated from Tampa. I graduated from Tampa Catholic. He graduated from Jesuit, which is Catholic school, same town, and I was a couple of years ahead of him. But for a Tampa boy, and I see how he is being of my sort of age group and growing up in the same neighborhood, as it were, he just tickles me sometimes. And I get it. Well, he'll be on one train of thought and headed down that road at 90 miles an hour, and he can make a left turn faster than an alien spacecraft. You know what I'm talking? He makes that left-hand turn just seem like it's so simple. Hello, Miss Phoebe. How are you? Welcome. Greetings and blessings. So in watching these people going bat crap crazy here recently, I just want to say, oh my goodness. You have to laugh. If you don't laugh at some of this stuff, I had to come over and check out this channel. Sup, Mark? How y'all doing? Yep. I've been doing crazy stuff for a long time. And I know you all are fairly new to me. I've been in chat rooms and things, but I've been on a journey I wasn't looking to become, hey, Wade, how are you, my friend? Long time no see, speak. Yep. The energy waves have been pounding me. Man, I feel like I've been in the Gulf of Mexico in a hurricane trying to body surf and getting pounded by the waves, man. I've done that. So that's my reference point. 11:20 a.m. and it's 81 here. Yikes, I'm melting. You're in North Carolina, Phoebe, is that right? You said NC? I'm down here in Southwest Georgia, and it's about 79-ish outside. But muggy. I have had to get rid of air conditioners over the last many years because as part of my learning how to be a shaman, you have to live to do without things like cool air or warm air, depending on what time of season it is. And it's how you get adjusted to these things is part of the learning process of being more spiritual. In other words, there's been several times where I almost froze to death. And sheer will kept me from freezing to death and a little good luck on the side. Actually, it was a lot of good luck. If that trucker hadn't picked me up when he had, I don't know if I'd have made it, but Anyway, so different circumstances have created Midwestern Idaho, Mr. Mark. I loved Idaho. Was that? No, that was. I did a around the United States tour, and I missed Utah, Colorado, Kansas. No, actually, we were in Kansas. A couple of right in the middle, but we went up and North Dakota and across and down and all the way back over here to Georgia. It was a lovely trip, and I'm hoping I can do it again. But something that a person brought up to me the other night, and I said, have you ever heard of this? And I said, way back in the 80s, 90s, and I can't exactly remember when, but we'll say back then, the actress, now I can see her face and I can't remember. And anyway, she did a book and then a movie called Out on a Limb. Her name will come to me in a minute. Anyway, and what she got me started on some of this by listening to her. And she went on a spiritual journey to Peru and down there, Chile and all, long before it was popular. And so while she was there and they were living in, they were staying in high altitude, and folks around there, they get used to their environment. They don't, there isn't any firewood to collect, number one. And if they did, they would spend all their time collecting firewood, which is something that I found out. And so she was cold, freezing and everything. And then when she went to visit her friend, she was like, I'm freezing to death. What do you do about this? And he was like, listen, it's a matter of thought. If you will just think that that blanket is 4 blankets in a quilt and one of them is electric, if you put your mind into that frame of reference and don't think about the cold, but think about how warm you are, reverse that thought. I'm freezing. No, you're not. You're warm. And so she was like, but that's stupid. I can't do this. And he's like, look, you came with me on this spiritual journey to learn about these things. Now, there isn't another blanket, and you're going to have to go. You can shiver all night if you want to, or you can dream of being warm. That was weird. The lights just flashed. That was strange. Woo-hoo. Hello, whoever you are, as long as you're a good entity, we're good here. That was weird. Anyway, so she went back to her little cottage area thing and laid down with her little thin blanket and her little Native American blanket, and curled up and thought warm thoughts and went to sleep. Now she was thinking, oh, it was the altitude and the location and all that. But the thing is that it was her own mind that decided to be warm rather than to choose to be cold. And when they go looking for people, they will be undetected because they are set on 98. That's okay. I'm good with that, Phoebe. But so she woke up the next morning all refreshed and everything. And her name is just skipping right out of my head. It doesn't want to be said, but red-haired lady, she was the bomb back in her day. I mean, I don't know why I can't think of her name, but it doesn't matter. So anyway, with that, she continued her journey, and the book goes on about her spiritual development and things that she learned and everything. And so with that thought, though, the times that I have been camping and caught with a flat tire, and I'm talking, I go to the wilderness when I go camping. You know, I go to the last road and then I find, you know, a 2-lane track up the hill, and then I go take that one, and then I turn right, and then I follow a deer trail. That's where I go camping. Because that's where you can have the most spiritual activity, I guess I would say. So in the many times that I have been cold, I have been able to override that. Now, recently, I say recently, in the last 6 years ago, approximately, I had an instance on the river where I was stuck on the Big Oclockney River. And if you see on this channel, it says LOR, Hermitage. That's the Little Oclockney River Hermitage. And with all the rain we've had this spring, the river is still not running. This is the 5th year that the river has not run in my backyard. And I've been here I've been here on this location for about 36 years. So I know what my terrain is. I know what my surroundings are. I have observed the weather and the patterns and everything. So I know what my conditions are, and I know what they should be. And we have been out of whack for a long time. In 2005, I started warning people, and they looked at me like I was completely freaking nuts. And about that time was the first time someone had actually spotted the plastic in the Pacific Ocean. Well, me being a woods person and going down in the woods and the swamps down here, there are huge islands of debris down in the swamps that are stuck on trees. Huge. I mean, there are literally trees growing on these islands of garbage sprouted out the top. There are bugs, critters, frogs, and live in them, but it's still garbage. It's still plastic crap. Milky Way, I haven't been able to grow anything either. I haven't been able to grow a squash. I don't care. Straight neck, crook neck, and I mean in the house, outside. I use all organic materials. I use my homemade chicken manure, and some of the seeds won't even come up, but I get the seeds to come up and then they just stop. And I've been gardening for 50 years. I mean, I'm not stupid about growing squash. It ain't that hard, but stuff just isn't growing. It just isn't. And I don't know whether it's the radiation. I've been doing soil testing. I thought I didn't have enough lime in my garden, for example, and it's been a long, hard row. And I'm currently now working on indoor solar-powered, as much as possible, organic gardening. The pumps don't run all the time. It comes on. It's a dump and wash. So in other words, it fills up a tank and then it opens up several times a day and then floods all the plants. And then all that water drains back into a container and then it gets refilled and dumps again. And that's what I'm working on. And the problems that I've been having have been these energy waves that have been coming in and knocking me just slap out. Now, with that said, though, I've realized that the things that I do have in my garden feed me. So I would like to be able to feed other people, but nobody want to come visit Crazy Dave out here in the woods. So, okay. But to the point, though, there are things in my garden growing right now. Yeah, okay, flip a bug off, and who cares if a bug ate a hole in the leaf of whatever it is that I got. And so I have food, but it depends on my train of thought. Is it enough milk? Do I have to have this? Do I have that? And several years ago, I went literally flipping nuts because I was like, I am not prepared. And even living off the land and on the land for all these years, I realized and looked around, I still didn't have quite everything I needed. So I've taken care of that. However, when the ground isn't sufficient enough to grow, or the light has changed and doesn't give the plants what they need, or there are no bees to pollinate the plants, that's a whole different value of where we were just a few years ago. Did you blink? Did you blink my lights? It happens before. You don't scare me. It's an LED light. Now, with all this new stuff, LED, I thought, this is going to be cool. And then there's information out there about the blue light spectrum coming from these LEDs. are as bad as or worse than a television screen or a computer screen or whatever. It gives off the wrong frequency. We need to go back to the yellow bulbs. I used to use 40-watt bulbs everywhere in my house, except where I needed a bunch of light. And I always had plenty of light. Now, I'm very light sensitive. And so flickering lights with a fluorescent tube or something will send me into seizures. I've spent about 30 years of my lifetime fighting with some type of seizure activity. And I've been on medications. My previous videos, I've discussed how I've gone through it. And that actually I'm coming out of it, because of less than 2 years ago, I was pretty much in a wheelchair, drooling, unable to cook anything. I mean, I couldn't even turn on the microwave. It was that bad. And I'm not asking for pity or anything, but in my spiritual journey, I had to die. Three times, a good 3 times. And I would count it a fourth, but one of them I'm like, well, is that stretching it? But I saw in my kitchen a white opening open up in my kitchen, a white door, and arms like, come on, you can come if you want to. If you want to take the shortcut out of here, come on. And I told my grandson, who was staying with me at the time, I said, Big John, if I'm not here in the morning, if something happens during the night, just know I love you and tell everybody I love them. And I did the best I could. Well, I came back. And after that, I also started healing better. Now I was in a really nasty shape. And I've had so many broken bones in my body. I've been operated on 3 times for neck surgery, in and out of the hospitals to have tests before the neck surgeries, just horrible things. And my first accident was with my left knee when I was playing football in 1967 with Tampa Catholic High School. And one of the reasons I bring that up is because I'm not supposed to be able to walk at 65. I'm almost 66. They had predicted that I would not be able to walk. And so the purple light also has a certain spectrum in it. Purple light's good, but not if you're getting ready to go to sleep. You need a couple hours for your eyes and your brain to adjust. I found that out too, by the way. Mark and Phoebe, I just like in the last week found that information out. And I try to keep my ear to the floor, to the ground on weird shit, And when that came out, I was like, well, now how come I don't know that? Because I probe in all kinds of areas, right? But I guess this has just been it's like cell phones. It's like any radio. Now, I found out something really interesting 3 years ago when there was this jade helm and everything going around, etc. And I realized that I didn't have any, if I was stuck and couldn't get off of my property. I've got 18 and a half acres in here in South Georgia. And I didn't have a radio. I could listen, but I couldn't communicate with anybody. So it came to me that, just get a decent set, because I live on very limited income. Just get a decent set of walkie-talkies that even have a 10-mile range. Because then you could, if anybody came within a 10-mile radius of me, I could communicate or at least listen to them. So the long, short story of this is I got the 2, and in the booklet, and I'm talking, it was page after page after page of warnings about using this device, and that it must capitalized and underlined, be worn on your hip. Do not use this over here. Do not put it close to your ear. And I mean, the warnings went on and on and on. And I was like, well, because this is a radio transmitter and a receiver, and it went on, and I'm looking through the book. Well, yeah, I know about this and this and this. And yeah, I know about this and bad. It creates cancer if you hold it too much, and brain cancer. And now, when was the last time you got a cell phone that gave you those kind of warnings? This is just a 2-way walkie-talkie. Not real expensive, less than $100. And they had 10 pages of warnings and how to use this device properly, and to never hold it up to your ear, and if possible, use a wire. Now, we've got people running around here with these little things in their ear. It's a radio transmitter and receiver. Oh, it's their Wi-Fi on their head. I've seen some of these people go back crap crazy. And I'm like, well, one of them was a realtor, and you could just see him get a little bit crazier all the time because he wore this earpiece. I can't remember what they're called. The little Wi-Fi unit for your telephone, etc., right? So I'm thinking to myself, there are a bunch of people that wear them things on their head. Now, is there a warning for having a Wi-Fi attached to your ear? No, not near as much. And I mean, I'm talking about these little walkie-talkies are little, okay, they got a, 20-mile range direct. Anyway, well, so do these little cell phones we have, right? I mean, even this house phone is a radio transmitter, okay? And it has to find its base. Now, it's got a short range, but it's still a radio. And one of the things I noticed, because I was an engineer and puppeteer, storyteller, I traveled around, did all kinds of things, very active in community theater. If you check out my Facebook page or whatever, I used to do a lot of theater, a lot of community theater and other things. And so I was on the phone a lot doing things, holding the phone up to my ear. Well, then when I found out about those simple walkie-talkies and what the simple radio frequencies would do with prolonged use, and I'm thinking, I sit on the phone for maybe an hour at a time discussing things with somebody and all. So now I use the speakerphone. I don't have headaches like I used to. I used to have migraines up the yin yang. I mean, just can't move, can't breathe. Your hair follicles hurt. And so, but I quit putting phones up to my ear. My cell phone that I can't afford, I have a cell phone, but I can't afford to do the, pay the monthly fee. And then I realized that it was controlling me. I got red pilled on that one about 5 years ago. And I was like, this thing, every time it beeps or goes off, I'm rushing to it. And I was spending hours upon hours, like downloading an app and checking out how it was. And the thing is like, well, what did it do for me? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The apps don't do anything. I was so bored. Tom, you're bored too, eh? I was so bored that I would go to all these different apps and things. And at the end of the day, I'd go, I just spent 4 hours looking at apps and trying them out, disliking them, liking them, checking through, scrolling through the stuff and answering questions. I didn't get crap done. I'm retired. It doesn't matter, but I didn't get crap done because this little device that I used to hold in my hand all the time isn't there any longer. I used to sleep with it by my head. I hadn't thought about headaches until I got those walkie-talkies. Oh my goodness. Now I have family members, very good friends that just, if that thing is not within reach, they will die. I mean, they will die. They have told me, if I can't reach my phone, I'll die. Okay. So what's the deal with that then? We as human beings are being controlled with these devices, and it is affecting our everyday mood, agenda, whatever. When that picture went out, 2 days ago, about kids in cages and Trump holding them up, who started that mess? It goes way back, to Billy Clinton, and of course everybody else has made it worse. Better that they be in a closed Walmart and not being sold overseas to somebody or trafficked through the desert, for goodness sakes. Holy moly. So with that said, I looked at it and I thought, how quickly people jumped the gun on this before anything could be said or proven or whatever. I've got friends of mine who hate me now because I said, hang on. Trump ain't the one that's closed those Walmarts. Trump's not the guy that did this. All this mess has been in play. He's trying to fix it. But now all you can do is throw more rocks at him. You want him killed even worse than you did before. And oh my goodness, are you kidding here? Over a picture. Now it's been, sent back around. Well, the pictures of kids behind cages was actually from the Obama era. Oh, okay, that's wonderful. Then why don't they say that? Why didn't they come out loud and say that to everybody? Oh, by the way, okay. Now, look, I don't think we should pick Trump forever, but my inside sources that I've been watching for 10 years now, 9 years, 2008, 2009, I've been watching some of these folks, and I've had my ear to the grindstone and to the ground earlier than that. As an engineer, I've traveled to Detroit and around Toronto, places. I worked with Ford, Chrysler engineers, Nissan, Honda folks. I've worked with some of the big guys, okay, in my job as a contract engineer down here in South Georgia. I have a lot of inside information that people go, but Trump, oh, no. Trump is a good deal. Now, you might not like some of his other stuff, but I saw what Billy Clinton and George Bush did, because I was the second person in the state of Georgia to receive extended benefits because of the NAFTA program. When our plant closed, there were at least 2,000 jobs lost directly. I mean, that was people working in little stores, people who delivered things. There were 800 people that worked there in the two plants here in South Georgia. All of them went out, and all of the jobs that supported them went out. All the machine shops have closed. There are no machine shops down here anymore. I used to be able to go into a machine shop and say, hey, I got this and I can do that, and you need any help, even if it's a couple hours a week. I'll sweep your floor. There are no machine shops. They're all closed up. They're gone. And so is all the tooling and all the machinings that made a machine shop a machine shop. So now Trump wants to bring these things back. I've had discussions about tool steel and about the steel. We had bad tool steel in 2003. And we were getting it from overseas because Bethlehem Steel and a couple other steel companies were shutting down. Well, who was that to blame? Well, Billy Clinton started and Bush Jr. took it over. And Obama just made it even worse. And now everybody wants to complain about Trump. Trump, in that respect, I know for a fact what happened. I saw it coming. 2,000 people lost their jobs in South Georgia because of this stuff. So somebody says, well, Dave, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, you didn't live where I did, and you didn't see it coming. You didn't have to train the Mexicans that came up from Mexico that took our jobs. I had to teach some of these people how to work the machinery. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox about that. My point is that I'm just some old weirdo that lives down in the woods, but I know a lot of stuff, and what I know is truth. Now, I can speculate on things, and I will say that. I'm speculating on that, and I'm not really sure. Now, the thing about what's going on in the cosmic world, I know Mark, Tom, Phoebe, you all are new to this channel, me. You may have seen me in discussion groups, which I frequent as I can. But I have had religious experiences since I was the age of 7 in the Catholic Church. I had a personal visit by Mother Mary at the age of 11. I've had subsequent visits from her, especially in times of really necessary stuff. And I've had a guardian angel that I had for a long time. And then I went through a really nasty period. And my spirit guide said, adios, buddy. Bye-bye until you want help. And I had given up. But at the same time, I was on so many medications, pharmaceutical medications, that I didn't know which end was up. I mean, I was literally screwed up in the head from all this stuff. So by saying that, I am now almost off of all prescription meds. I've got 2 that are left. out of like 10. And rather than taking medicine 4 times a day, I take medicine 2 times a day. And I used to take 12 pills 4 times a day, and now I take 3. An aspirin, decongestant because of my sinus problems, and I sometimes take a half a LOR tab, and I'm almost out of those, and when they're gone, they're gone. So that'll be gone probably in another 2 weeks. But I've been cutting my intake down so that when I come off of these drugs, I'll be okay. Wild lettuce, yes. I'm wild lettuce. Wait, let me back up a second. The things that I used to be able to go. Now I'm an herbalist. I've got books. I've done all kinds of walks with people, and it's been 20 years ago now. I used to travel and go on to powwows all around Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina once, Tennessee several times in Tennessee, several times in Florida, and quite a few times here in Georgia. Now, one of the things that I helped teach with another friend, and I was his apprentice, okay? And he was my apprentice as a puppeteer, by the way. We were bartering our services. So, he would show me these things and walk around, and here's this and there's that and blah, blah, blah. And I had videos of all this way back before YouTube ever started. I mean, this was before 2001. I mean, things were still VHS, for God's sakes, you know. Actually, it was super VHS, but so I've been around herbs and things like that for a long time. I've got bunches of books in my library upstairs. And the things that I've noticed that around here in South Georgia and North Florida too, and Alabama, I get over to the border when I can, which is about 100 miles to the west of me, roughly. The types of plants that used to grow along the hedgerows aren't there any longer. For example, mullein or mullein, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Now, I've always heard it pronounced mullein. All right. Now, this is a beautiful plant, great big, huge leaves. It looks sort of like a tobacco plant in a way. It sends up a spire. It takes 2 years for the thing to go to seed. And I've got him in my garden now, and I've got a seed bank. Now, the reason I bring up mullein, because they were sending me to the hospital to be operated on for kidney stones, kidney this. And they said when they did the sonogram, etc., on my kidneys, that I had polyps and lesions on my kidney, especially my right one. Oh my gosh, it was painful. So I said, well, even though I had insurance, I've been in the hospital enough. I did not want to go back. So I looked at my options and I did my research and I got my books out. Mullein. And I'm like, so what do you do with it? Well, it's good for asthma. If you dry the leaves and you crush it up, you smoke it, it's good for your asthma. It'll help you up cough, phlegm. You can make tea with it. It's good for all kinds of stuff. I've made poultices of it. But the biggest thing, if you make and I bought a bottle of gin the other night because the mullein I have in the garden, I'm getting ready to pick, and I want to make a tincture. So you basically soak whatever it is that you got in alcohol to get the oils out of it, strain it, blah, blah, blah. That's what I'm in the process of doing as soon as the mullein is ready to pick. So, after I took this little bottle of drops that was about 6 weeks worth of drops. Now, at the time, it cost me about $30 from the local health food store, which I thought was a little pricey, but it took away all of my kidney ailments. all of my kidney ailments. I haven't been back to the doctor for a kidney problem since I took the mullein. Whoa. And then I started doing more research. So then it's been about 10 years ago now, but I took a trip to Arkansas and up in the Ozark, man, mulleins growing everywhere, right? Holy crap. So I went, and I'm sorry, but I swiped a couple from a natural park, well, forest, way in the woods. Growing naturally, there are 40 plants in a small area, because when they drop their seeds, more will come up. And so I just went around and picked up a couple small ones and brought them home. And that's what has started my mullein patch out in the yard, in the backyard, in the garden. And now I've got 15 mullein growing up from the seeds that got dropped last fall. They're coming up as volunteers in my garden. So all I'm doing now is transplanting them so they're not in the middle of the row or whatever. Now, why am I going on this with mullein? Because I've noticed some people in a couple of chats. In fact, in one chat I was in the other night, as I started to talk about this, they banned me from making any more comments in the chat. And somebody was discussing wild lettuce, which I agree. And I think whoever it was on the other end, we were discussing back and forth that be careful. If somebody says, oh, wild lettuce, and they look at a little picture in the book and out they go, there are things that look like things that aren't wild lettuce. All I was trying to say is be careful of what you're picking. Make sure it's wild lettuce. My only point. I wasn't trying to, tell somebody don't take it or that isn't any good. And then I wanted to, because someone in the group chat said something about they had kidney issues. As soon as I brought up mullein, I was banned from making any more comments in that chat room. And these are supposed to be free thinkers, et cetera. And I said, well, wait a minute now. I tried again. And after 20 minutes of not being able to post in the chat any longer, even though my name said it was okay and there wasn't any ban or whatever, I'm like, I clicked off. And I thought, well, now that's really weird. There are people out there suffering that if you know what mullein is, and that's real, you can't mistake this stuff. But if it's growing wild in your area and how you can bring it home and start growing it and what it can do for you and other people, because lots of folks have kidney issues now because of all the crap they're drinking, all the plastics that are in the bottles, all the bottled water people are drinking. They're not drinking water. They're drinking plastic. I knew this back in 2005, and every time I tried to tell somebody, they just said, Dave, you're crazy, go away. I kind of sort of did. But now, and I'm thankful for you folks hanging out here. I know you ain't got nothing better to do. Now, I don't know whether or not the subject is worthwhile for you to listen to. And if you've got a suggestion or a question, please ask me. I grow my own garlic too, by the way, Mark. In fact, it's within the last week, we've had rain showers almost every evening, and has kept me from getting in the garden like I normally do. But all the tops of my garlic have died, and I've got 3 or 4 beds of garlic that are just thick. And at least once a year, I dig them up and spread them out, and I'll put them in my garden. Now, many years ago, when I first moved down here in South Georgia, we have hard red clay. If you've ever, Tom, I am thinking indoors. In fact, I'm working on it. And boy, am I working on it. We've had some storms here, which is interesting because I bought a roll of plastic back in the fall to cover my garden with for the winter, and which I do every year. Greens grow best in the winter down here in the South. At 53, I thank God and nature have been good to me. God and nature have been fair to me. It's been my own craziness that's gotten me into crap. I think I said in a recent chat, where we were chatting before, it was like, the discussion of sin. And it's come up in some other places. And I bring this back up about, because sin, okay, well, what is sin? Growing up in the Catholic Church, every damn thing was a sin. You had a mortal sin, which was like killing something. Then you had a venial sin. Oh, you had an argument with your mother. That's a venial sin. And if you get 10 or more of these and collect them, that turns into a mortal sin. I grew up with this. I went to Most Holy Redeemer in Tampa. I graduated Tampa Catholic in 1970. All of my childhood, I went to Catholic school. I had religion class every single day, except maybe the last year or so of high school. So did they ingrain that crap into us? Oh, yeah. Now, at the same time, I was having spiritual visits from Mother Mary that until kind of sort of recently, I wouldn't even discuss with anybody, because who the flip's going to believe me? When I tried to explain it years ago, I just got slapped. I mean, backhanded. You can't talk like that. Mother Mary wouldn't come to you. Why not? I'm 11 years old. What the hell could I have done wrong where I couldn't get a visit from Mother Mary? Not to say that I'm special, but my point is, she showed up in front of poor children all the time. What made, the Fatima thing, whatever it is, however you want to believe in that. Now I'm speaking of what the Catholics were teaching, and all of these saints, they had visions and everything. Okay, so, but if I bring it up that I had something like that, and I would really like to talk to somebody about it, because what the hell, did I do? I witnessed something. I would like to talk about it. Smack! Shut up. You're no good. Well, but that's the Catholic Church for you. None of us are any good. We're all sinners till the end. I mean, it came to me about a month ago, and I was like, as the veil is being lifted from my point of view, things that I've known for years and have observed for years, and went, yeah, well, that's nice. Yeah, okay. And I saw him and was like, that does seem a little weird, but there's no real connection to it. Well, recently, in discussing about how nasty the Vatican is, and I had a Dominican nun in 1970 tell me some things that were parallel to what Father Malachi Martin was writing in his books before they murdered him in 1999. Listen to the old Art Bell shows and stuff. Just search Malachi Martin. He wrote a bunch of books, and he wrote them as fiction, but they were actually truth. And he had the blessing of Pope Pius, I think, at the time. So with that said, Sister Helene, God bless her, she saved me. She literally took me out of the gutter when I was living on the street and gave me a home until I had a job working in Tampa, but I didn't have enough money to, buy rent and all the deposit, blah, blah, blah. And so, she took me in for about 3 weeks. And what I mean by that is that at Tampa Catholic, there was a gym, and school was out for the summer. She was the only person left on campus at the nunnery, and there was nobody at the school, and she was sort of the caretaker, walked around a couple times a day. And because I had been the manager of the football team, she gave me the keys to a multi-million-dollar gym and said, go make you a bed, where the Coke machine is, and if you need to borrow money, make sure you put an IOU in there, and, I trust you. Well, she knew better than that. I wouldn't steal from the Coke machine or anything like that. And if I did, I would put it back with interest. But I digress. So in the evening times, she didn't watch television or anything like that. And so since there wasn't anybody there, it wasn't that she was lonely, but she was by herself for almost 2 months there at Tampa Catholic. So we would sit there and she'd have supper ready for me at 6:30 every evening, gave me time to get home. I say home, but back to the campus, and wash up, do your thing, take a shower, supper's ready, 6:30. Thank you. Never asked for money, never wanted anything. But after dinner, during dinner, we would go and sit in the front room. I'd help her do the dishes. We'd put stuff up and we would be chatting. And I was asking her about my visits of Mother Mary. was asking her about becoming a priest because I felt so inclined. I was an altar boy, and I was also when that back in the late 60s is when they turned the Catholic Church from all Latin and facing away from the audience to where they turned the priest around facing the audience and started saying a lot of it in English. All right. Well, I was a commentator, so I would read scripture verses from the Bible twice every Mass. And at the time, I'd go in at the 8 o'clock Mass on Sundays, and I would stay for the 8 o'clock, the 9:30, or whatever it was. I would say at least 3 Masses and sometimes 4 every single Sunday. And when I was reading out of the Bible to these hundreds of people in our church every Mass, I felt the Spirit in me of how I could relate spiritually with people. And people would come up to me and go, but you're only 15 years old, and your oration, and yes, I've won a lot of awards. I placed 7th in the nation in extemporaneous speaking in 1989. I won the Georgia, I won gold medal twice in the state of Georgia for extemporaneous speaking. In VICA competition, by the way. And so the things that Sister Helene discussed with me was exactly like Father Malachi Martin would say. If Art Bell would ask him a question, he would say, bye, Mark. Thank you, my brother. Have a great evening. Be good. That Malachi Martin would say, I can't answer that, but if you ask me a question specifically, I cannot lie because of my vows. But I can't coach you or anything. But if you ask me a question, I must tell you the truth within reason. Well, that's what Sister Helene did with me. And she told me things about the Catholic Church that are coming true right now. She kind of backed up my Mother Mary story and said, I believe you, David. In fact, she and Mother Mary about a year ago appeared over there for about 20 seconds in my front room. It scared the crap out of me. And they told me it's time for me to use the skills I was given. I didn't know how or what, and I was told, you gotta start talking to people. One of the things that I was told that I was good at was communicating with people, was being able to sit down and say, okay, how can I explain this to you in a term that you will understand? Which was a lot of the times what I had to do when I was trying to teach someone how to run a machine or a piece of complex equipment or something like that. Can people control weather at their house? Phoebe, that's a loaded one, because last summer it was so dry, and it's real funky right now because it's moist in here. But I took me and my drum out. It's real funky. It's too wet, too damp in the house. But so I go out in the yard, and I'm just nothing in particular, but I'm like, Creator, we need rain here really bad. Now I've got 2 large, they're 1,000-gallon tank each. And my well had already gone dry. It's a hand-dug well at 22 feet. I mean, hand-dug with a shovel and a rope and hand-dug. And I had 2,000 gallons of water. Actually, it was about this time of year, but it quit raining. And so by the time we got into August and I'm trying to keep my garden going, we hadn't had a rain shower. So I'm being real careful and using the water down out of my tanks, right? And I'm to the point now where there's like maybe 250 gallons in each tank, which for me is like really low, even as conservative as I am. And I was like, Lord, a 30-minute rain at a good clip would give me 100 or 200 gallons in each of those 2 tanks. So I went out in the yard and I just did some drumming. Nothing special, just a little drumming, but it was my intent. I need a little rain. I need a little rain. Lord, I just need a shower. Creator, give me a shower. Mother Earth, you know you need this shower. Come on, give us some rain here down here, you know? Wasn't a cloud in the sky. Well, I came back in. It was hotter than snot, and I'm sweating to get something to drink and put the drum down. 15 minutes later, I heard a clap of thunder, and it started raining. And it rained for 20 minutes, and it gave me about 200 gallons in each of my tanks. Now, I even got on Facebook and went, oh, my God, there's not a cloud in the sky, but it rained over my house. Holy crap. And even people made a comment. Well, see, you must be, Creator must like you because, he answered your prayer. And I was like, yeah, well, I was expecting like maybe a rain shower the next day or so. I didn't know that there was going to be one that manifested over my house. It did. Now, I've had a couple of other instances where I've been protected from bad weather. My neighbor up on the hill up here, it was not this January, but last January of 2017, we had some tornadoes come through my area here. And I'm talking about, it was like the 2nd or the 3rd of January. It shut all the lights out, tore all the lines down, for about a 15-mile radius around where I live. We didn't have power for 4 days. It was weird. And in the middle of winter and blah, blah, blah. And, but so you never know when something's going to hit. But the thing is that I'd been living on this property maybe 2 years. So it was like 1985 or 86, something like that. A bad storm came through related to a hurricane. It was Hurricane Kate, I believe. And it came through Thomasville back then and wiped us out down here in the South. We were out of power, out of water. I mean, it was horrible. Anyway, and it came right before Thanksgiving, as a matter of fact, as I remember, because we couldn't get out to go have Thanksgiving dinner with anybody. Even our neighbors were locked. So, but what happened was it tore this man's barn down. It's a big barn because he works on tractors, big tractors. That was his business. Ripped that barn to shreds. Took pieces of his barn and wrapped them around my pine tree at the top of my driveway, which is several hundred yards from the house. And I couldn't get out the driveway because of the steel that had been wrapped around and was blocking us from getting out the driveway. I had to wait for them to be able to come in and literally get a torch and cut the steel. It was really thick steel roofing and siding on that barn. But so 2 years ago, we had that bad tornado. Now, the tornado went right over the top of the house. I could hear the sucking sound. It pulled a window out of my house, but didn't break any windows. It just sucked it out. The pressure was so great. This last time tornado went over the house, it tore down all kind of trees just right back behind my house in the woods. I mean, left a trail of humongous oak trees and other trees, maple trees specifically, and some black gum. Tore them up, ancient trees, hundreds of years old. Missed the top of the house and ripped that man's barn apart for a second time since I've lived here. Tore that man's barn down. And all kinds of trees and litter and everything up on the road. And I couldn't get out of here for 3 days. So I've been protected. Why didn't it? I mean, it tore a tree down right back here. Now I got trees surrounding me. Big oak tree over here, big oak tree back over here on this side. One overhangs my house. And I believe that because of my spiritualness with the trees and my prayer for the trees, that they have protected me. Yeah, I know that's weird, but they do. They're strong, and they but twice, two. How many times in a lifetime at living in one place do you get 2 tornadoes? In about a 30-year span, I will say, between them. One was in January, one was in November. But the fact that they both went over the top of this house where I'm sitting and I could hear it, It's unmistakable. And the fact that I only lost a window and a couple of small things, that was it. Now I lost power, but nothing went down here at my house. It all went down around the neighborhood. I took pictures of the scorched square in my yard when the mini tornado went through. It was so weird. I had 17s fall away from the house in Hurricane Charlie. Yep. Knocked over and tossed barbecue grill, 3 or 4 chairs and a fence. Yep. That's good, Tom. Yep. I agree. So, but when you say, well, can you create something? I'm of the mindset that if you got your stuff together, I've been to Deltona, Florida. Tom, didn't you say you were in Florida? Did I miss that? Anyway, so with what I've been learning as a I say I hate to use this word. I see that. DeLand. Oh, yeah. I traveled with a carnival for years, and we used to play DeLand every year. Yeah, at the Catholic Church there in DeLand, by the way, Tom. Back in, it was the 60s and 70s. I think the last time I was down to DeLand would have been about 82 or 3, I think, was the last time I've been to DeLand. But anyway, yeah, I've been up and down the coast traveling with the carnival and doing puppet shows and things. I've somewhere down near Fort Lauderdale, around, I can't remember the name of it anyway, but I've been that far south on the East Coast doing puppet shows and storytelling. Anyway, I won't say hate. I tried my best to keep my language clean. And I've done a couple of videos on language, and I'm going to continue to do videos on language because what we say, how we say it, and what we write and how we write affects everything. Because if you believe at all in magic, magic is spoken. Some of it is anyway. And it's with intent. But what we're finding out with all this quantum measures and everything, I mean, I've known it for a bunch of years. People are catching up with me. And I don't mean that I'm better than you. I had visions of things. I did a 4-way hit of White Sunshine by accident. I didn't know what it was in 1970. And when folks say they saw God, I visited God for 3 days. They took me out and showed me some things. And I knew what quantum entanglement was in 1970 by not even knowing. I mean, science has always been my fascination. I've always watched the stars. But the fact that, I did a 4-way hit of White Sunshine, and, and the most I had done at that time, because I had just graduated high school, was I'm not sorry. I was for a little while, and the people around me were weirded out because I didn't know what had happened either. But since then, I have had the opportunity, I will say. Because of that first trip, I realized I couldn't get there after it. So I obviously wanted to do acid again because I experienced something that I haven't been able to put together. So back in the day, for $35, you could buy 100 tabs of acid. So every payday, we knew the guys. And they were making it out at the University of South Florida out there in Tampa. And there were some other guys, too, at Tampa University who worked in the chemistry department. And they were making their own bathtub acid, right? And Oh God, I wished I had mushrooms growing here. Anyway, that's another story. Um, they don't grow around here like they used to. But between the acid that I've taken over the years, and I must say I was a chronic acid head, and the amount of mushrooms that I've taken. Now the mushrooms I took specifically for spiritual journey. The acid I took was just to get high. Now, but at the same time, I liked what it showed me and things, and that interdimensional thing that acid does to you. But when I started doing mushrooms, I did mushrooms as a shaman would do mushrooms. I did prayer circle on my own, sometimes with others, but usually on my own. And so the many shamanistic experiences I had related some of my LSD experiences, but as I used the mushrooms for the spiritual journey, it just the acid trips kind of related, and that I was able to, when I got there to that plane of thought, to be able to look back on my acid days and go, wow, that was really crazy, you know. But this is how this relates now, Dave. Okay. All right, Hawkeye, pay attention, Spirit would tell me. Okay. And so I have been in 20-degree weather without a fire, and have been perfectly warm out in the woods, you know, clear sky, etc. But tripping my butt off on mushrooms, I'll tell you. But when I got into the mindset and my fire was going out, I learned, because of previous experiment with it, that if I think warm thoughts, even though the fire was out and there were barely any coals and it was 20 degrees outside, froze the water in the canteens, blah, blah, blah. I was in North Georgia, by the way, as a matter of fact. I ascended right out of my body. I could see myself sitting down where the fire was, and the little bit of coals, and the full moon filtering through the trees, and me just sitting there, just slightly illuminated. I just lifted right up through the trees. Beautiful experience. Spirit taught me some things on that trip, and I wasn't cold at all, not a thing. And then someone walked up from another camp and touched me on the shoulder. And I literally dropped from 200 feet straight down, bam, and hit ground. And within 5 seconds of wondering where I was and who touched me, they wanted something, or I don't know, it was something simple, but I didn't even know they were there. They were camped down the road just a little ways, but to the point they touched me, and I was immediately freezing. Now, I wasn't cold to touch. My hands were warm. My feet were warm, but I immediately felt that 20 degrees. Boom, just like that. Where I know when I was looking down at myself, which is kind of strange, I didn't see that person coming. I was kind of looking around, I think, is what was going on. Hi, Miss Phoebe. Thank you, David, for having me. Oh, please. I wish, you know, this is a little Chrome box thingy, and not very powerful. And the fact that it allows me to chat with folks across the world is wonderful. But I haven't been able to, and I used to be a tech geek, but I haven't been able to figure out with this Chrome crap. I'm sorry, Chrome, but in some ways you are crap. But I would love to invite folks and have a chat, you know, rather than, I know, I don't want to be on, I'm scared to talk. Yeah, but to have a chat with people. And that's what part of my thing was, like, oh, I'm going to get on YouTube and yak a bunch of shit, you know, and who's going to listen, who's going to give a crap, blah, blah, blah. Well, the fact that I've got 60 subscribers is 59 more than I thought I would get, honestly. And I appreciate you all, because hopefully there'll be something that I say that'll trip something in your brain. And it was like, in the chat earlier this evening about the sin and what the Catholic Church made all of us feel was a sin. And the fact that I look at stuff that I've done, and technically it wasn't a sin in the book, but for my own person, what I did was a sin to me, because I should have acted differently or reacted differently. Either way. But acted differently means that you're doing something. To react is someone did something to you or around you, and that is your purpose. Now, reacting to something has been my nemesis, because I used to be like, you mofo, and blah, 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 blah. My language was so horrible. I grew up on a carnival. I grew up in a machine shop with a bunch of guys with tattoos and beer, after work and stuff, So, but all of that had to be shown to me so that I could understand when other people get mad at me, don't overreact. In fact, don't react. Actually, just, oh, okay, how you doing? Well, I like your point of view, rather than going, well, I think that's stupid. So, and one of the things that it's happening so horribly right now is how people are reacting to things, and they're not acting or they're reacting. And as Lionel would say, and other folks too, it's that knee-jerk reaction. But with the knee-jerk reaction, some of these folks have forethought, because they have said similar things in other chat rooms, if you follow my meaning in that. So it's not like it was the first time they ever thought of this and put it down. No, they've had accumulation of crap that they want to go. Let's go fishing, Tom. I wish you were closer, my friend. I got 2 kayaks and a 17-foot canoe and all the gear to go with it. I'm ready. But people have gotten extremely rude and mean just in the last 30 days. And this, I mentioned it earlier, I think, in that, the picture of the kids, and it's all Trump's fault and this and that. Whoa, hang on. Maybe they're in that closed Walmart because they're better off in there under some type of supervision, rather than being trafficked, raped, murdered, eaten, for God's sakes, or being in an abusive foster home. How many of those kids actually had parents at the border? Seriously. I know folks around here that have come back and forth across the border, how they got cheated by the coyotes, how one guy's feet, those tennis shoes were so hot on his feet, they stuck to the bottom of his foot. They had to cut the tennis shoes off his feet. He couldn't walk for 2 weeks. I know these people personally. I've seen their hardships, and that's here in South Georgia. I know when watching some of these other channels and so forth, what's going on down there, and people coming back and forth across the border. It's ridiculous. And the children that are caught at the border, do they have any birth certificates or anything to prove that the people who brought them to the border are their actual parents or even a relative, for God's sakes? A lot of times that's not the case. Now, there were some folks I knew, this has been 10 years ago now, so I can't speak for now, but I seriously doubt that they quit. They were just getting better at it. In fact, they actually asked me, they were going to pay me $200 to drive to Texas and meet a van. They were going to give me the vehicle, the money, the room and board, whatever, per diem kind of thing, to drive to Texas and just pick up 5 people and drive them back here to South Georgia. $200 and all expenses. All I had to do was drive. The vehicle was there as everything. And I said, yeah, I don't know. What if I get caught with a bunch of illegal Mexicans? Am I going to go to jail, or are they? I mean, that's aiding and abetting. But to the point, I've been in this mess. Don't ask me how I get tangled up in this stuff, but I just, people. And these are respected people in the neighborhood, kind of, sort of. Let me go back. I want to read what y'all are chatting about. I'm nosy. My body naturally stayed awake, and I had visions right down to them naming Storm Cindy, a crazy storm. I wrote about that as it came. Oh, I should have went back further. You're coming through fine. Thank you very much. I suffered 2 concussions back to back. Oh, crap. When you started your channel, I had to learn how to walk, talk. Me too. Phoebe, I want to bring this up. This is one of the subjects that Mother Mary asked me to bring up. 2 weeks ago, there was that spate of suicides, which I don't think were suicides, but we won't go there. Just like I don't think Robin Williams suicided himself. I just don't. Maybe he did, but I tried suicide by hanging. And for anybody that says that you can kill yourself by hanging from a doorknob has never been choked. Now, I know some of these folks are into this choking business during their sex thing, and in a way, I think they've gotten used to it. But I tried to hang myself from a basketball hoop thing. Okay. This was in like 73, just before I moved up here to Georgia, actually. I had severe head concussion, was in the hospital for 2 weeks. And when I got out, I was so depressed and so this and that I wanted to commit suicide. And I tried. And it was with a rope out on the basketball goal. And I threw it up, got on a box, and jumped off. My problem was, one would think, well, maybe not so much a problem, is that where I tied the rope and the basketball goal all leaned forward. So I had tied it real tight. So when I jumped off this box, that'd be it. Well, I should have got a bigger box, or I should have picked another location, or thank God it didn't happen. But my tippy toes were there, and I was bouncing up and down like I was on a damn pogo stick. Boing, boing, all the time. Like, that was not fun. And I finally managed to like break the rope from like trying to jump up and down on it. And I didn't die from that. But the point being, I got to the point of choking and my instincts kicked in and said, no, you're choking to death. Well, yeah, I wanted to die. No, you don't, idiot. This is stupid. So when I hear people committing suicide by doorknob and a scarf, I think to myself, somebody held them down, because your normal reflexes, just your normal fight, flight business. So do people hang themselves? Yes. Do they commit suicide? Yes. Now, when they say, well, I hung myself from a light fixture, if anybody saw how a light fixture was put in, it would pull out of the ceiling. You can't do that anymore. I install ceiling fans. I worked as an electrician and an electrician's helper. I know how this stuff goes up. And I'm telling you, if I wouldn't use a fixture of any kind, because I know there's only a couple of little screws holding it in there, and my weight's going to bring that thing down. So when somebody says, oh, well, they hung from a fixture in the center of a ceiling, I really question that, because ceilings aren't made for people to be hung from. It's just not there. So now, Miss Phoebe, and I wanted to finish up. Something ate your rabbit's feet off. Oh, man. I don't know, but I found out that the possums around here are really hungry, and they started eating some of my live chickens. Now, somebody told me, yeah, well, a possum will do that, but other folks have talked about their little critters getting eaten, and I wonder, could a possum do it? I mean, I've seen them attack kitty cats here in the yard and eat them, kill them, eat them. A possum. I was like, okay. Yeah. And about the kids, Now, I'm an adopted child. My uncle adopted me when I was 3.5. God bless him. And I really mean that. There are people having their kids taken away for the dumbest things. And I'm talking about, and because they don't jump through the right hoops, they don't get their kids back. And I look at it and go, wait a minute. Back in my day, people were spanking their kids and whelps and boards and this and that and the other thing. That's not going on. These people got turned in by a neighbor or a relative who said, well, they spanked their kid or something like that. And oh my God, we have gotten absolutely ridiculous. Rabbits. I raised a bunch of rabbits here for a long time. And folks were like, well, are you going to eat them? And I said, no. And they were like, well, why are you growing them? And I said, to sell to other people. And if they want to eat them, that's their choice. But I'm selling my rabbits to buy chicken feed because I like eggs. I wouldn't eat a rabbit. I mean, I've been rabbit hunting, but at some point, I've skinned deer, I've skinned, different types of animals, and I can do it. I just choose not to. I realize there's been too many times that I went hunting when actually I didn't need it. I thought I needed to kill an animal to eat. And oh yeah, it was good, fricasseed and all, but that's not the point. Did I have to kill it? The answer on some of the occasions was no. But somebody said, hey, let's go hunting. I went and killed something. Then I realized it was like, these are God's creatures and I don't have the right to do this unless I'm starving. And even at the times when I'm starving, somebody said, well, why don't you eat one of your chickens, Dave? And I was like, are you nuts? I'm going to eat a hen that lays good eggs. I'm only going to eat the chicken once, but that chicken can make 100 eggs. You want me to eat it? No, sorry. I'm going to make quiche with some spinach, or some broccoli or something, Obama did have a silent war. And I'm reading Thomas says, you can't die completely. Okay. We don't die completely. You're right about that. And I think that was I was fascinated with death, feared of it, all that. But at the same time, I wanted to die. Now, Phoebe, I brought this up in that I got a vision about 2 weeks ago when the suicides were happening and people were talking about this and that. And when I was in Tampa, I was involved with the Suicide Crisis Center. And back then there was a place called The Door. And the joke was, call the door, talk me down, in case you took acid or something or freaked out or were depressed. And many times went out to some suicidal victims and kept them from killing themselves or dying or whatever. Saved quite a few lives when I was in Tampa. Then I moved up here. So I brought that information with me. But in looking back on some of this stuff, in my years of wanting to self-annihilate, running to bridges before they had airbags, so drownings, heat exhaustion, frozen to death, and I'm, when it's 20 degrees outside and you ain't got nothing but a jacket on, no matches, nothing, and just you in the elements, it's tough. But I made it, and that's the whole point. The whole point is we as human beings have more, I like to call it magic with a M-A-G-I-K, meaning as in earth magic, not as a conjuring spells kind of magic, an innate magic, a spirituality. But the magic, and I say that is because people are like, what is that? Well, I've given a couple of videos on how to practice astral projection, how I learned. How to see with the ends of your fingers. That's a neat trick. I love it. I learned it as a mechanic. And these things are real because as I've shown them to other people, you have to be able to believe, well, Dave's full of shit. There ain't no way I can see with the ends of my fingers. Well, you're not going to, that right there, that's that. no matter how I convince you or whatever, that ain't gonna happen. On the other side of the coin, though, if you go, that's an intriguing thought. I wonder if that's possible. So you already are halfway there because you have the inclination and the incentive to at least try it. Or that, that just, what the hell? I ain't doing nothing else. Let me see if I can look through my fingers. Well, then, it was on one of the UMBA something. It was a lecture a lady gave that I saw a few months ago. And I got my eyes closed, guys. I'm trying to see the picture. And she was giving a talk about how they've been practicing with young children. And they put one of those sleep masks on them, the total black wraps around so they don't get any light in. And they practice using and seeing with their third eye. So they can see clearly like a blind person does. Now, I worked with the blind for several years at a center for disabilities, okay? And several of the folks there were blind. And part of my job description was to help them with daily chores, learn how to do things, get around. And this young black man at the time, Larry, he could see, how he figured out where he was, I don't know. I mean, I was just like, Larry, well, I can see some things, and I'd go like this, and he couldn't see my hand. But he knew where the table was and could take 3 steps and a cautious 4th and would hit the table every time. Like, Larry, how'd you know that table was there? I don't know, Mr. No, because he couldn't explain it. But I watched him, and I was like, well, what if I moved the table? And I did. You have to try things like this. I didn't, not to hurt him, but I moved the table over slightly before he came back upstairs at another time to see if he could find the table. He went to where the table had been moved, not to where it was. So it proved my point. Larry could see somehow, because if he was doing it by steps, then I moved it over another step and a half, not to trick him, but to see if he could see. And he found the table regardless. Now, if I moved it to the other side of the room, he could find the table then. He'd go, Mr. No, the table's not here. And he'd do this thing, and he'd look up, and he'd like cataracts over his eyes, and he'd look and he'd go, Mr. Nell, is that table over there? And he would point in a general direction. I go, yeah, Larry, they moved the table. Oh, okay. And he'd go to it. Now he's blind. No cane, no nothing, no, and I would help lead him. I hate to use the word lead, but, guide him. And Larry fascinated me. So I started like one of the techniques, one of the professors that I learned from way back in the 70s and 80s was that if you want to feel what a blind person's doing, close your eyes and walk around. Well, at the same time I was learning these things, I was also practicing a little bit of magic at the time. I was dabbling. I was out of the Catholic Church. That was out. That was gone by this time. But I was still very spiritual, and I had that 4-way hit of White Sunshine. And so my brain was in a different point of view. So, but what I realized was, in my practicing of astral projection, I was about 22 aged at the time. So I realized that I could see, not as good as Larry could, because he had never seen actually with his eyes his whole life. So his practice of seeing through his third eye was like 110%. Another lady in the city of Moultrie, near where I live, she walked around town with a guide dog all the time, but she could see things. She said she couldn't, but she could. She perceived them, however you want to do it. So, but this lady recently within this, now the study's been in the last 5 years predominantly, but they put a blindfold on this young boy and during class to show the kids how it could be done. And he went the rest of the school day with blinders on his eyes, not bumping into anything, went to lunch, went home, took the bus the whole 9 yards with his eyes closed, basically. Normal child. All they did was put on these things and teach them to use their third eye. Oh my God. Now, where am I headed with all this? Good night, Milky. Call me tomorrow. You got my message, I hope. He's probably already gone. So, Phoebe, where am I headed with this on this subject? And you guys went way further down while I was yapping. I'm curious because the head trauma that I've had, and I've been hitting the head a lot. And a lot of it not my fault, but some of it, being drunk and falling down. Yeah, okay, I did that a time or two. But most of my serious incidents were from accidents by other people running into me with cars, trucks, whatever, that kind of thing. And I realized the other night that it was the head trauma that caused me the depression, the severity of my depressions. Because as I dealt with my depression over the years, medicine, counseling, as I seemed to get better, I had another head injury. And after the head injury, it was like I fell back 10 steps, not one or two, but I was back into, oh my God, it's 1973 again, and I want to go find a rope and a basketball net to hang myself. Yeah, opossums are good target practice, by the way. We have a big panther. We have really big bobcats around here. I mean, they stand 2 foot, 2.5 foot tall. They're not these little bobcat things you see on, these things are almost like mountain lions. 2 grandsons lived with an uncle. Oh, wow, I got one of those critter cams. Rabbit poop is great fertilizer, but you know what? In my research in poop and the garden, I had not realized how great chicken manure really is compared to other manures. Oh my God. Because I was like supplementing. Well, don't use too much chicken poop. You might burn your garden. Yeah, okay. But then in doing more research and catching up to like present day, oh my God, it's the best fertilizer you can get. So if you want to do something for yourself, get a couple of hens and a rooster, because a rooster will protect your house. Just get one that likes you. But anyway, yeah, see, Tom, now my family weren't into killing. Now here's an interesting thing though. My grandpa Raleigh on my mother's side was a butcher. I mean, skin cows, bulls, whatever. That's what he did. My father, Arno, actually he was my uncle, but because of the adoption, he was a meat cutter. Now, he didn't like splitting things open, but once it was on the table and cut off the cow, as it were, and into pieces, he was a great meat cutter and was manager of several meat in primary stores in Tampa. He worked for Cash and Carry and several companies that got bought up and turned into something else. But he was manager of the meat department of several department store markets for years. He retired from that, and went into being a carny. But I've been around cutting meat and slicing, dicing, and all that. But the actual, I'm going to kill it, nobody showed me that. I knew how to do that instinctively, which is really weird. And then, but I realized that it just wasn't necessary. For my own self, some reason, it wasn't necessary. Now, if I had a family to feed and, go shoot a deer or something like that, yeah, okay. Me personally, now as a hermit, nope, ain't going to happen. I'm not going to kill anything unless it's trying to kill me or hurt me. Everyone makes quantum suicide devices. I think so. February, I think the Monday before Valentine's Day, came out with press and asked for our drones back, please. A few days later, we walked in and the air was thick. Yep. Oh, wow. The drones hit there. Paradox. Netflix. Hardly no one took me serious about the drone strikes. Are you talking about the towers, Miss Phoebe? Or a different? Wait a minute. No, you live someplace else. I'm sorry. Help me out about the drone. Where? Just give me a location. I can't remember. Paradox. Well, told 5 or 6 states a storm was coming. Our state was one of them. The storm was drone, small ones with a weird whine-like 2-stroke engine. Oh, I got you. Yeah, they've been dropping some chemicals. I have done some studying. I still haven't come up with anything, but it all depends on what the material is, the denseness of the atmosphere or the air. And I was looking, I could see these chemtrails going overhead, and some of them do this swirly thing like this, and they spread out, and you can literally see these fingers of clouds dripping down after like 10 or 15 minutes, right? So I was like, I wonder how long it takes for those particles to hit the ground. And nobody really knows. Because I was like, well, does it take 5 hours, 2 hours? How far up, wind shift, and all that kind of thing. But how long does it take for those particulates to get to the ground? So the studies so far, I haven't found a decent answer. Well, it's this and blah, blah, blah. And there's like all kinds of gobbledygook of conversation, but there's no answer. You don't know, do you? No, but it's going to hit the ground in a few hours. Well, how do you know? Well, why? How do you know? Well, out in Arizona, we put out paper and it landed there a couple hours later. Okay, but did you time when the thing went over, or was that aerosol already in the air and it landed on your paper, but that wasn't the one that went just, so I get it, but there's no answer. But I know that in the evenings I would go out because I garden more at night now because of the heat. My body just can't tolerate the heat. But at the same time, I would go outside with my little headlamp on, go check chickens, blah, 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 and see these particles in the air floating. Particles, not mist, because, you can feel the mist and it'll collect on the hairs on your arm, but this stuff wouldn't even stick. But it was visible like fine dust particles. So that I still haven't found out how long it takes for it to come down. Brown eggs are yummy. If you get chickens, here's a suggestion. They're called Aracanas, Aracana, depending on who. They make a blue teal. This is too dark, but they make a teal blue egg, and they're huge, great layers. Oh my God. I'm on my 9th year of being a hermit this time around. Well, actually, no, I was semi-hermetic 5 years. Yeah. Oh, North Carolina, right. So Miss Phoebe, if you're still there, did you find that after your head concussions, of any correlation to depression? Because I'm gonna delve into this more. Yes, you did. I am thoroughly convinced that my years of depression were directly related to my years of head traumas. I've had 25 serious head concussions. That's not counting all the other bangs and crap, but I'm talking had to go to the hospital for 10 of these, and the other 10 other ones I should have went to the hospital. I mean, oh my God. But for every time there was a head bang, for whatever reason, and regardless of where, I've been hit in the back of the head, mostly though on the sides and the temples. And I lost the last good head bang I got. I have 150 puppets in my personal collection that I made. Now, some of them were purchased or gifts, but 125 of them are ones that I made. Now, I say that because each one of those puppets had a backstory, history, character, and a voice that I did. The last head injury, I don't hear any of the puppet voices. And I could break into a character voice anytime you wanted to, brother. I've gotten awards for being able to do it, you know? Not now, Margaret. I don't feel like it. I got me a headache between my legs. Never mind. But to the point, I used to do some of this stuff all the time. I used to be able to do 2-3 characters just back to back to back to back to back and never miss a lick. I lost it all. 30 years I've been able to do this stuff, and then I get a head bang, and that whatever shunt nerve ending something ain't there. I can't connect the dots. I say can't. I couldn't connect the dots. I am having better luck now because I am consciously trying to repair whatever's wrong. Now I can sit here and look at the screen and go, I know there's still, wires that are crossed, or the nerve endings just ain't quite close enough yet to fire. But the fact that I can sit here and have a conversation and reasonably stay on track, better than Lionel does. I love the man, I do. I've never met him, but I just love him. But anyway, that's a personal thing. But, old people, we have a tendency to go off. You're trying to fix it, Sassy? Absolutely. My biggest hurdle in healing was believing 101%. Because if you don't believe it on a quantum level, and that was, I knew all these things, but I was like, yeah, but I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. There was this, well, I know it's possible, but I don't know if I can do it. Well, Spirit had to knock me out for 3 days on the river at 103-degree temperatures and have me walk out of my body for a couple of days and go learn some stuff. And then brought me back and dropped me back in here and go, okay, how'd you like that one? Tom, in so many words, it really is all in our heads. Because the things that I have overcome in my life, I use my brain with my heart to overcome those obstacles. And I mean, stuck in the woods and you're trapped and ain't nobody around and you're drowning. I mean, these are serious positions here. I'm not talking about, well, I got, mugged. That's bad too. But, the wilderness person that I like to go and do and see and experience, holy crap. So I've gotten out of lots of other people would not have made it. And I'm not bragging. This has been my journey to learn and be able to speak to other people who might have an idea. Well, I've heard about this stuff. I am living proof. I can sit here and speak to you that, and I got all my medical records and all that crap. That's not the point. The point is I proved it to myself that healing can be done. So I'm not here to say I'm God or Jesus. I'm here to say you are, and you can do what he taught and what Buddha taught and what other, folks have taught over the centuries and millennium. We can do these things, but you got to believe. And I thought I was there. I'm not lying. I was like, I'm there because I've done these other things, like be able to see with my fingertips and do astral projection. And, now I got to say, for every head bang, my astral projection took a back seat, and I had to develop it over again by reconnecting my brain thingies. So, but the bottom line is, at the end of the day, you might not be healed immediately, which is one of the things I was like, well, I've been working on this and blah, 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 blah. Well, but the thing is that some things take a little longer, and we're being bombarded with all this other super crap around us. So we can't heal as fast as we should be able to. You surfing hurricanes. Oh man, I used to do that. I did. So your depression may be linked to that head shot, Sassy. What, you got a shot to the head too, Miss Sassy? What? Oh, right. You did say, okay. Belief is so important. Yes, I can, but I need to know how and more ways. Miss Sassy. Now, I stopped believing in God because God is a construct. But I am very familiar with creator and source. Okay. Now, if you use the word God, okie dokie, I just don't like the word because it has negative connotations to it. And creator and source make, just spiritually for me, much more sense. Creator doesn't ask us to worship him or to make sacrifices. Creator asks us to respect nature and that which she created, period. All creation. Now, with this said, my Native American heritage and my walk with shamanism, and I didn't realize that's where I was headed. I was just trying to walk, as the Native Americans say, the red road. Okay, that's all. I just wanted to follow Mother Earth. I wanted to listen to Mother Earth, Father Sky, Sister Moon, have my prayers to the six, directions. There are not 4 directions, by the way. There are 6. North, south, east, west, up, and down. Nobody tells you that. Oh, but the 4 directions. No, there are 6 directions. I found that out the hard way. Whew. Very hard way. Woo. Gives me chills. Woo. Anyway, was doing a ceremony. Was one of my first open ceremonies with other people. I had blessed this site, and I had done everything my teacher and master had told me, showed me, and that I was following in my heart. You always bless your area. And I even blessed above me like a dome. There were people there who were trying to take me out and were literally conducting black magic upon me. So they brought in literally negative jinn type shadow beings to this prayer circle, fire ceremony, specifically for certain people that needed healing. And some of those people got healed within 5 days of that fire ceremony. I digress. But 2/3 way through the ceremony, had a few people left. I was taking them individually. They were doing this thing, blah, 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 part of the ceremony. And all of a sudden, my little dog Sasha, who is gone now, bless her, started barking, and she was looking at something because I knew my dog. She was looking at a critter. And then she ran around the circle, knowing not to cross in where the people were. She knew, spiritual dog. Four-leggeds are much smarter than we give them. Not necessarily cats, but anyway. But so Sasha ran to the other side of the circle and started barking up at the sky there. Now, other people who were outside the circle but observing said they saw two large. I was in the middle of doing the ceremony myself, but I felt it. The spirits tried to enter the circle, tried to come in from the top, but then disappeared under the ground at the edge of the circle and popped up inside because I didn't prayer mark and consecrate the sixth dimension of below. It doesn't have to go far. It just, you have to be in a sphere of protection. And son of a biscuit eater. I mean, one girl almost committed suicide over what happened because the spirit attacked her as I was trying to reach her. And my spirit guide and the shaman who was with me as my teacher and etc. literally ran through the fire, and it was a big one. He hurtled, ran through this thing and grabbed her and said, "You've got to get him out of the circle now. It's been compromised." And he had to literally do some fancy shaman shit to get that girl. She was shrieking, and he got the spirit out because it didn't have a chance to take hold. But oh my God. So there are things that people will tell you they don't really know. And the reason I say that is because my experience is you don't really know what you're talking about because you're only talking about 4 directions. Then you must not really be a shaman because you've not had jinn try to enter your circle or those shadow beings. They're different types, but just to be a general. All right, so I got off a little bit, but anyway, so what I mean by this believing, I believed that I had the circle, but I didn't. Now, I only missed it by a thing, but that was very difficult. I was almost there and we were protected. Now, had there not been someone actively trying to take me out physically with black magic, I didn't know until about a month after that, by the way. I wondered how they got in. They were directed. But anyway, natural spirits would not have entered because there wasn't an active force working against us. So, but in general, you know, you must think of yourself all the way around, not just here and there, you know, a 4th dimension, if you will. Now, one of the nature programs that I walked, and physics something anyway, and the guy was like, you know, we think in 3 dimensions, right? And he goes, we think of, you know, up and down, and, you know, and as an engineer and someone who worked in 3D CAD, you know, you've got these points, you know, that on your screen, and this is X, Y, and Z, right? So, but to an ant who can walk upside down, when they walk on a limb, they can walk on the top, they can walk on the sides, and they can walk on the bottom. So they've got 4 dimensions. So for us people, we only have 3, but to an ant, he can walk upside down on a limb just as easy as he can walk on top of the limb. To the ant, does he have 3 dimensions? He's got a 4th. So right there, an ant can prove to you that there are different types of dimensional thinkings if you will allow your thought to go there. Now, wow, it's so interesting because my prayer thought for the last 10 days after the suicides in the news was that I needed to speak about suicide. and some of my troubles, depressions, etc., how I got around them, blah, blah, whatever. All right. But then it also came to me about the head trauma. And then it was like, oh, fudge. It's been staring at me right in the face. But because of the brain trauma, there are certain things I haven't been able to see correctly. Now, I will say this to anyone. When you sit down and channel your spirit guide, and ask them to give you some kind of a sign. All right. Thank you, Miss Phoebe. Okay. Now I hope I can make this. I'm asking my spirit guide to help me channel this because it's very important, especially since we're discussing it. Ask your spirit guide, ask your creator, and like I was saying, don't ask God, but because some of them are fake. But if your God is creator, okay. I know that some folks might say, well, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Well, but if for a long time I said, well, I know who my God is, and my God is creator. But now when I look at other things and people talking about this God and that God, the Christian God and the Jewish God, I'm like, I don't have a God. I have creator and I have source. Now, that has to be defined clearly in that when you believe, you must allow your heart, not your brain, because your brain will shut the shit off. Your brain will go, this ain't possible. Because I kept overthinking it. And one of the things that my Mother Mary trips and things were, Dave, you're an engineer. You look for minute things. You're looking too hard. And I'm like, what? Yeah, but I believe, and I've got this experience, and some people even call me a shaman. But, and then it came to me, you're about 1% off your belief. And I had to go to a mirror and look at myself in the mirror and say, I thought we believed 100%. Now I fully believe in spirit. I fully believe in creator. I fully believe in these things and afterlife and whatever, but I wasn't convinced I could cure myself. I wasn't convinced that I could heal myself because all of my training as a human being said, no, you can't. Why not? Well, because we said so. It says so in the Bible. You can't heal yourself. You need the power of God. Well, okay. Which God? Well, pick one. No, that's not. No, you got to pick the right one. Now, I had already picked my correct one. I just call it creator. But until I came off that river after almost 4 days with no food and water, 102-degree temperatures in August, down here in South Georgia on a dry ass riverbed, I was almost drowned 3 times. I mean, woke up. You sit in the bottom of a canoe and try to tump it over, especially a 16-footer fiberglass. It was upended and turned sideways with me in the water up to here. And it wasn't much deeper than that. But somebody was holding me down and there wasn't nobody nearby. This was all spiritual, weird crap. But after that incident, for me, when I came back off that river after 3 days with, a quart of Gatorade and a couple of moon pies and my little dog, I just sat in awe Why am I not dead? Why is my carcass still not on the river? I can't survive 102 degrees sitting out in my front yard, let alone on the river with no water. It was then that it dawned on me, but it was shown so graphically. You didn't believe 100%. You had that tiny, tiny little bit of doubt. Well, but I need my drum. No, you don't. But I need to take it. No, you don't. Well, what if I take you? No, you don't. You don't need anything to heal you. Now, herbs help, and we need all the help we can get. But if you believe in source and the quantum healing effect, the biggest thing you can do is make your body less acidic and more on the positive, the alkaline side. Of all the things you could do, that right there is what you need. Really. Because once your pH is situated in your body to a normal condition, your body will heal itself. People are cured from cancer by doing simple regimens of baking soda, molasses, which has special, really, really good minerals and vitamins in it, and honey, curing cancer. Oh my goodness. RH peeps need the opposite. Opposite of what? You mean you have to be more acidic than alkaline? Really? I'd be careful with that one. Be on the safe side. Put yourself in a neutral zone. Not too much either way. Yep, I'm taking a baking soda, lemon, and a pinch of cayenne. I must say it's helping a lot over the last few months. So, Miss Phoebe, you're negative RH, and you say you have to be more acidic? That's a new one. But something else to consider. That's why we're having the conversation. I have yet to test it. Now, here, I laugh because you put LOL on there anyway, so I could do that. I could laugh with you. But to that point, though, of some of the things that I've noticed about myself in the healing and, the kidney problems and other ailments, blah, 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 blah. Prostate issues, okay. But so much of it has to do with the balance of your pH. I mean, if you just get it around 6.5, 7.5 and stay in there, like most plants like to grow, for instance, you've got a pretty safe bet. A touch of humor is wonderful, Miss Sassy. Absolutely. But of all the things, even with that, though, because in my training and education and digging into things, I'm sure you've heard of breatharians, people who can just live by breathing. And I thought that was I heard that back in the 70s and had spoke with some guru type folks back then who are really gurus, in my opinion, not some of these flashy things. But anyway, and they discussed the fact that if we can get our vibration correctly, we can get everything we need from breathing because everything is present. And if we believe it, and if we practice it, we can live without eating. All we have to do is breathe. So proof to that was my 3 days on the river with a quart of liquid and 2 moon pies. I should have dehydrated. All science says I should have been dehydrated from the 102 degree temperatures during the day. I mean, it was 85, 90 at night, for God's sakes, back then. I should have just sweat to death. So that, when I came off the river, was like, you see, we had to damn near kill you, Bubba. In fact, I do think I was dead in all intents and purposes, but we had to kill you, Bubba. and take you on a walk through the swamp in the middle of the summer, dog days, and show you that you don't have to have all this water that they claim. You don't have to have 4 meals a day and snacks in between. Oh, my blood sugar. I was so convinced it was my blood sugar that was causing my seizures. I was freaked. Oh, my blood sugar. Oh, I feel a little. I realized I went nuts with the blood sugar thing. Sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And I was like, but you know what? The times that it did work, was it because my thought process said, I'm going to eat this and I'm going to feel better? Or did I just eat something and not really put the intent into it? And I ate something, but my blood sugar didn't change. And oh my God, I had a seizure anyway. So where do we go with this? My training by Spirit, Creator, has shown me it is possible, but you must believe. Now, I'm not saying go walk the plank and think you're going to be able to take 2 or 3 steps in midair and not fall. That takes a shitload of practice. A shitload of practice, I might add. I've tried it. I haven't learned how to fly physically yet, but I have not sunk or drowned or, so flying, relatively speaking. But so with that, though, once I felt it and not thought it, by God, them son of bitches took me out in the woods and abandoned me for 3 days, left me for dead. How did I get off the river? How did and Creator's telling me, guess what? You needed a real lifetime experience. I mean, yeah, I've been close to death, all these other things, but in a different way. I was in the hospital. I was related to an accident. This was something that I went up the river to go fishing and take some pictures and hang out with my dog. Ended up a 3-day walkabout in spirit form. I thought I was Mary Poppins as a kid. Oh gosh. I had a magic pillow that I could fly with. And I had proved with my family, every I don't know, Wednesday they went bowling back in the day, in the 60s. Now, I didn't know anything about astral projection or any of this kind of stuff, okay? I'm like 12. They go bowling, mom and pops, and my aunt comes to take, babysits. They come home 11 or 12 at night, and aunt goes home. You know the drill. Well, one night they always came in. Me and my brother's bedroom were right across the hall, like 3.5 feet away from their bedroom door. So they would always check on us when they got home. Well, I was out flying with my magic pillow one evening, and I heard this noise, and I realized, holy crap, mom and dad are home. Holy crap, the door opened. Oh, holy crap, I'm flying around. So I got my pillow, and I go hunkering up into the corner. Now I'm laying down there in the bed, and at the time I don't realize it, but I'm got me and my pillow, and I'm hiding up in this corner, being as still as I can be, because by God, I don't want them to see me. Not really, as a 12-year-old kid, realizing the connection, especially back then in the 60s. So they flip on the light and go, well, they're the kids, and then mom looks over at me and she goes, David's awfully still. Pops goes, hey, he's okay. He's just sleeping. No, look at him. He's almost white. That's just the light. Turn off the light and let's go to bed. Now I'm up here in the corner going, holy shit. What do they know that and I was expecting her to look up and see me in the corner. Well, they shut the light off, closed the door, and boom, I was back in my body. And the next morning I was like, okay, this is all a dream. So I'm yawning, going to breakfast the next morning, getting ready for school, blah, blah, blah. And mom says, Me and your dad looked in on you last night, and oh my God, you look like you were dead. You were laying there so pale. And I thought, holy shit. I was up in my corner with my magic pillow watching the whole event. Oh, man. So there are things that I've been subjected to in my almost 66 years of life. And I'm just saying, so some of these things are like, well, okay, I had to experience these things, but also now I have to go back through what I did experience, because there were lessons in there that my brain needs to hear. I don't know why. My heart already knows it, but my brain needs to correlate this stuff with quantum mechanics and this. I mean, I've been talking about everybody is a radio frequency. And when you get to, it's all an FM station, Since the 70s, I've been talking about this. Now everybody's talking about frequencies, and oh my God, it's like a radio station. I'm like, did you guys listen to me 30, 40 years ago and listen to what I had to say about it? Well, there wasn't Facebook and all that back then. I had stories and things that I had written down, but all that got burned up when that house burned down. And the spirit, the man who built the house, manifested himself, woke me, shook me, touched me, and kept us from being burned alive in the house. So I've had some really, some would say creepy, but I say thank you to the weird spirits and the ghosts and things. I've had some attack me, but I've had more help from the spirit world. Right. Yeah. Well, all those frequencies are messing with us. I mean, when you go to have your brain scan done or whatever, like me, how many times have I had my brain scan and they do the flashing lights to see if you're going to have a seizure or not? And then they give you one and then throw you out after they give you one. What they did to me. I went 61 years without a grand mal seizure. They gave me a medicine. They gave me the lights. They gave me this crappy treatment. And I started having grand mal seizures. So I know the brainwave thing. I know that flashing lights, like now, I can't watch regular television because when they go to the commercials, the flashing, it sets me off. Not in a bad, well, yeah, it is a bad way. It gives me headaches. I can be perfectly fine. No headache, no nothing, blah, blah, blah. Watch one particular commercial. Now, I can't tell you which one that is, but watch a commercial with a certain amount of flashing lights, and I'll have a headache in 30 seconds. So when I try to talk about this to other people, they're doing the flashing lights, and that's mind control. Oh, Dave, you're full of shit. No, it gives me a seizure. Well, that's because no. Listen to me. If they can make me have a seizure during a commercial, they can mind control your butt. Right? No, Dave, that shit don't have nothing to do with me, man. No, man, that bullshit. Put your tinfoil hat back on. And I look back at them and go, you really don't understand, do you? And so when I'm looking at things, I'm using all of my experience, which does include previous lives, because I didn't know how, I really didn't go to school for engineering per se, but I learned how to work on machines. And one machine is just another machine with just different parts. But so, Susie, you get head pain with flashing lights. Man, I hate it. Right side migraines here. I've had serious head trauma right above my left eye, and a lot of stuff gets manifested there. They think you're nuts because they listen to the science. Yes, and they don't make tinfoil anymore, but it's all aluminum. They were constant now since my ears started ringing. The headaches seem to be gone for the most part. I'm feeling the energy. Yes, you do. Good. I don't know in my updates over the last couple of days in listening and receiving. And it seems like it was that the picture with the kids in Walmart or something that triggered it, but folks just went bat crap crazy. But in doing so, it seems like there are certain things that are triggering these folks like that. Boom. Quicker than before. I mean, like, what? You guys went from 0 to 200. Wow. Now, what put you in that mood? What commercial did you watch? What little flickery thing did you see that tripped that response in your brain? So when I try to bring it up to folks, of course, I'm full of shit. I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, as someone who's had 25 serious brain traumas in his 66 years, I've got a little bit of experience in this mess. All the doctors, all the pills, I've got experience. And now the fact that I'm not on all of that crap anymore, and I can think clearly, and I can tell when a commercial is going to do its thing, but I can't even watch regular television. I mean, content's one thing. It's the commercials and the flashing lights. And even some of these YouTube videos, I'm like, this is an example. Alex Jones talking about mind control, talking about this, that, and the other thing. And then what do they do for their commercials? They put spinning lights and flashing things, all the same shit that he discusses about mind control they use in their promos and commercials. Oh my God. Now, did he do it on purpose? Just saying. So people who complain about the mind control don't look at the mind control because they're mind controlled not to see the mind control. How about that for a paradox? Dave, we tape what we want to watch. And yeah, right. Well, my VHS machine died years ago, but now I watch either YouTube or Netflix. I'm going to drop my Netflix. Them bastards when I hired the Obamas, but I get dizzy with certain lights too. And it used to be if I was driving down the road and the sun was either going up or coming down, but in that coming through the side, whizzing through the trees, and you get that strobe light effect. Holy crap. I used to go to discotheques and do all the flashing lights. Man, I can't even look at a blinking light hardly sometimes. And police cars, I had one cop stop me. I had purchased my tag that day on my birthday for my tag on my truck. On my way home from stopping at the store after buying my license, I didn't put the tag on because it was raining a little bit and I was just going to wait till I got home. I had all the stuff, my, driver's license, blah, 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 insurance and everything on the dash of my truck because I was going to do it when I got home. A cop stops me because I don't have a tag on my truck, the sticker. Now, it's my birthday that he gives me this freaking ticket. And he's like, you have to have that sticker on your tag before your birthday. Not on, but before. And I said, but I didn't have the money till the day. But that's beside the point. And I said, but here it is. I've got it right here. Let me get out and I'll put this on. Well, he drew his gun. If you get out of that car, and I'm like, sir, wait, hang on. Here's my registration. Here's the little sticker for the state of Georgia. Here's the date. Here's my insurance and my driver's license, all in the same envelope. Now, what I'm talking about with this is that as he's pulled me over, these flashing blue, white lights are hitting me in the rearview mirror, and it's starting to affect me. Now I'm trying to say something to this sheriff's deputy who's already pissed. And I mean, I had short hair and clean cut and all this stuff. I mean, I was an engineer. It worked at a tier 1 company, auto company. So as the lights are flashing and he's giving me a ticket, even though I got the sticker, I'm starting to have a seizure. Now, by the time he gets back with my driver's license and stuff, I'm starting to slur my speech. And he thinks I'm drunk now. So now he wants me to get out of the car, where before he was going to shoot me if I touched the door. And I'm like, Creator was with me on that day. I said, sir, I'm really tired and I'm exhausted. And if you keep me here any longer, I'm just going to have to shut my car off and take a nap. And he was like, what? And I said, sir, I know you're doing your job. It's my birthday. I've had all these things. It's been a long day. If you'll just give me my ticket, please, I will go home. I wasn't doing anything. I was just driving home from the store. Okay. And he went another direction, and I turned right and stopped, pulled over, and I went full-blown seizure. Flashing lights from the cop car. Whew. So what they have done to us with all these flashing lights and stuff. Now, it's bad enough that we have head trauma, but then I've been to several neurologists, and not one of them is worth their salt of anything. I wouldn't hire them to be a dog catcher. That's what I think of neurologists. They're stupid, ignorant, arrogant, tried to kill me several times, people. And then don't believe you when you tell them the truth. Unbelievable. So, about 3 or 4 years ago, during my recovery, I was listening to NPR on the radio. And there was a lady a neurologist, who had a serious head concussion. And she had written a book about it and was speaking about her experiences as a neurologist with brain damage. And that everything that she had been taught to be a neurologist was all wrong. Oh, I'm not going back to any neuros. My neuro is right up there. I'm sorry. These people do not know what they're talking about. They don't. It's science, and they're trying to learn. They say they do, but each one of us is different. I might have 3 flashes of light. You might need 4 or 2. We're not all wired the same, and they're trying to say we are. That's false. That's a false statement. We are not the same. We are not wired together the same. We have similarities, but we are not wired the same. Parts of the brain, yes. But there are people with only a half a brain that is reconstructed and have done some phenomenal things. There was a guy years ago that had a pipe go through his head right above his eye and all the way through his brain. They took it out and he was fine. He lost a little bit of motor skills, but after 6 months, he was able to rewire his brain. And even though there was a hole all the way through his skull, he was able to his brain rewired us. He didn't even know about this stuff. It worked on his own because he didn't believe he was messed up. They said, well, you got a part of your brain missing. Well, I can talk and I can walk and I can speak and I love my kids so I can go to work and drive. I must be okay. So because I must be okay, he kept that train of thought. He kept that intent. He kept that heart message, and he was okay, and his brain fixed those things which had gone wrong due to his accident. He didn't need a neurologist. When he went to the neurologist and they were going like, well, how did you learn that motor skill over? Oh, I don't know. I've had 3 operations on my neck. I'm not supposed to be able to turn my head. I can wipe my chin on my shoulder. I haven't been able to do that since 1985. What the hell's going on here? We can heal. Our bodies can heal. They can heal in ways. Now, it's taken a long time. My first operation, scar on my neck, went through there, pull your bones apart. Wonderful. 3 times. And the last one didn't take on one of the vertebrae on the bottom. So basically, my head still broke. Neck's still broken. Let me catch up here. I'm sorry. I was sort of keeping up, but then I got... Yeah, I avoid the cops. And recently, I have noticed that if I surround my vehicle with a positive thought, because it's 20 years old. Yeah. Had a few deer run into it and tear up my front end. The cops don't stop me. They don't go, because I put a little band of protection, and it's sort of like you can see me, but you can't notice me. It's sort of like a Jedi mind trick. Oh, I've actually done that. Oh my God. And got away with it. You don't really see this. I don't know. Oh, I must not. That works, but only on certain people. But as a puppeteer, I learned that I can fool people like a magic trick, sleight of hand. And is it sleight of hand, or did you trick them? Did you use a special magic? Yeah, they don't play fair at all. Thank you, David. I'm with you. Wait a minute. They come up to you like a pack, and I'll start asking you questions. I would hold on one at a time. You are confusing me. What? I'm sorry. Susie, you say, David and Phoebe, thank you so much. I'm going to rewatch. Phoebe and David, I needed this info tonight. I have 3 grandbabies to watch in the morning. I have to go to bed. I'll rewatch. She's already gone. I'm guessing. Much love, much love. See, I don't know why, but whatever it is, it's a different point of thought. But there's been a lot of us. All right, it says, what dose should I take on my WL? What's WL? Phoebe? Much love, I'll be back. Been doing about 1/3 of a teaspoon. Sassy, please do. Think cops play games with Donna. Feel about getting murdered. Last encounter with police. She needs to write in the comment to replay this. Wild lettuce. Oh. Now, see, I can't find wild lettuce around here. I can't. So I'm having to punt. That's why I brought up the mullein or the mullion. And I'm going to make my own. I bought a really good gin, by the way, to make my tincture with. You separate the oil, sort of like like people are doing CBD oils with cannabis. It's basically a similar process to extract the oils from anything. What, some wild lettuce? Oh, that'd be wonderful. And I would be more than happy to send you a tincture or some dried leaves, at least, of mullein, or you might be able to find it where you're at in North Carolina, because that's one of the last few places that I found some from mullein. But they have used so much pesticides down here with the cotton fields, and oh my God, And when come the end of August, the 1st of September, they start defoliating cotton around here. I can't breathe. I mean, it chokes me. It puts me into seizures. It is horrible with a capital H. And so, and it's killed just a lot of the natural weeds. Roundup they use in all the farms and stuff around here. Really, really, really bad. You know what mullein looks like there, Miss Phoebe? It's a beautiful plant. Beautiful plant. Mine right now is, let's see, my height. The leaves come up to about here now, and the spear is above my head when I went out in the garden to look to get eggs earlier. So it's like, whoa, this thing is really, really grown. They're beautiful. They've got really soft, velvety kind of leaves. And I say sort of like a green pea, green kind of color, not a dark green and not a light green, but yeah, you know. And one of the places I used to go up to Boone, North Carolina a lot, and just across the line there into Tennessee. Oh man, there's a little old bare spot. Used to have circus kind of thing once a year up there in the mountains, and I used to go to that. But yeah, seeds works too, you know. I'm trying to find wild things again, but as I have been trying to collect these wild things, they've died off. And then I had health issues, and I don't drive the way I used to, and la 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 la. And so I'm kind of stuck to my property, which is okay. But if my property isn't growing it, or right either side of me just a little bit, then I don't get around much. Now I'm getting better, but still, there's been so much defoliant and such around here. I can't even find a sassafras tree. And that used to be on every single fence row down here. There's no sassafras. And sassafras is really good for lots of stuff. I was on the hunt for the lettuce, looked over in the neighbor's yard, and there was one plant. It's in the weirdest places. But see, now you guys, I don't know your particular situation, but unless you've got cotton growing and all this shit right next door to you, you don't get what we get down here. I mean, that's, you know, they're spraying with planes and it's in the air, and you can't drive to the nearest town without getting a whiff of crap and spitting up blood, and your nose runs. And thank God they changed the chemical a couple of years ago, but it's still not good for us. So, but with the head thing, the healing, I got to go back to the spirit believing, because I've seen so many people in my lifetime, relatives died of cancer and so forth. And then there are people who have, you know, I've been trying to do the eucalyptus, and it failed. Anyway, it didn't take. However, I do know where there is one. It's on private property, but I can't get to it if I had to. That's strange. I have scoped out like, ooh, there's one of those kind of trees. Ooh, there's a, you know, ooh. But I've seen people who not necessarily were Christian or even necessarily spiritual, but they believed like a placebo that the treatment was curing them, and therefore they got cured. Where another person had doubt in the cure, or I've heard some things or something, that they die of the cancer, and relatively quickly. So people that I have seen, and recently, a very dear friend of mine that I've known for 30 odd years here in South Georgia, did theater together. We worked at the same radio stations as disc jockeys on different timelines and whatever. Him on AM, me on FM, and me on AM, and him on anyway. But Mr. Randy has been a friend of mine for many years, and he got colon cancer. I mean, like in November of this last year. He called me on the phone. He's in tears. He's in hysterics. I'm going in the hospital. They're removing things. I don't know if I'm going to live. He called me the other day, and so far, all of his signs are clear. Now, I talked to him after he got out of the hospital, and we were having a similar conversation. Randy, if you believe you can heal, if you make sure that you're not eating all these acidic things and, certain things. And then he told me just the other day, he said, David, he said, I think I had an angel visit me in the hospital. Now, he goes to church on Sundays. He's a Southern Baptist, but not a hoity-toity Southern Baptist. And he said, David, I never thought that I'd be able to speak to anybody, but I know I can speak to you. He said, I swear to God, an angel came to me. And he goes, I can't talk to anybody else about it. What are they going to think of me? And I was like, don't worry. You can talk all you want to me about angels. I know all about those. Conceptually at least. And he was like, but you know what? He said, I went to the doctor today and all my thingies checked out. I don't have cancer. I've got 2 more treatments, but I don't have cancer now. And I was like, well, did you really have to take the other 2 treatments? Well, they say I do. And well, okay. But to the point, he should be dying because of what his condition was. But because we had talked and he had asked for prayers, because Randy believed and does absolutely 110% now believe that prayer can heal. Because he said, David, he said, I know people prayed for me. And he said, but I saw that angel in my hospital room. And he goes, and I know that I was healed. He goes, does that sound crazy? I said, yeah, but so. Well, but he's never had anything like that happen. So, but his intent was, if these people pray for me, I will be healed. So he's looking at it from a different point of view than you or I or some of us might be thinking of. But it was his intent. His intent was, if I do these things and with the people praying for me, I can and will be healed. And he is at present. Okay. Another friend of mine, they had given, actually, it's my half-brother's wife in Ohio, dying of liver failure 4 weeks ago. Wasn't supposed to get out of the hospital. Was in the bed. That was it. Waiting on the end kind of deal. My brother called me, I guess about a week ago now, and says, you know what? She's up and walking. They might even let her out of the hospital. I said, who? Because I was like, my wife. I said, holy shit. No, I thought you were calling me to say she'd passed. Oh, holy crap. When I grow seeds, I use Scott soil. When they get bigger, I transplant to a bigger pot after. What was the scoop on Trump's wife? Lots of prayer. She's supposed to be healing. Now, they didn't really let out really what was wrong with her, I don't believe. And she's still on the mend. But to the point, though, she's got a lot of negative energy directed towards her. We all know that. And it's difficult to heal when there are people praying against you. But so my brother's wife, it was 6 weeks ago when he said that she was, hospice care and she was just going to be in the hospital. She didn't want to go home, that she just was going to die in the hospital. And then she had a revelation. And now she's walking with a walker, but in the hospital. And somehow her liver isn't as bad as it was 6 weeks ago. So, but I was actively, and many of us were actively, she didn't ask for the prayers, but he did. So on his behalf, we prayed for her. She wasn't in the, I believe, state of mind, which is kind of odd in that my friend Randy did think he could be healed. She was just, I'm ready to die. Okay. She was healed or is being healed. But now he said she believes that the prayer helped her. So that by now she believes it, she will continue to get better or should. So is this all just a placebo bunch of BS? I don't think so. But you have to be able to give it a try. You have to believe. And I've seen people damn near at death's door. But if you call upon the energy of Mother Earth, I hate the word Gaia, Mother Earth and the cosmos and the energy that is already here. Block the negatives as much as you can, simply by saying, I refuse to allow negative energies to affect me. It can be as simple as that. Now, some people, like I live out in the country, I'm not around a bunch of electronics, blah, blah, blah. If I lived in the city, I'd be having to do mantras all the time and have shit around me all the time. But out here in the country, I'm able to just say, stay away. I can say a mantra is nothing more than repeated words, in my humble opinion. If you say the same things over and over again, especially in threes, then that has, quote, magical effect. It helps. Is it the only thing? No, because you have to have intent and the belief and all that. If a wizard is a 10th degree wizard, I'm just spouting, 10th degree wizard, if he doesn't believe he's a 10th degree wizard, nothing he says or does with his little magic wand is going to come, or it's going to fail, or it ain't going to work. He could have all the right words laid out in front of me. He could have everything he needs, this and that, and the ceremony and that. But if he doesn't believe he can do it, or that the words will actually work, it ain't. And that was one reason why I was a horrible spellcaster, because I didn't believe that I should be doing it. So I believed it could be done, but my hesitation was, should I be doing this? Should I be casting a spell for anything? No. If I want to cast a spell on someone, I simply say a prayer. I wish good fortune to this person. I wish this person to heal. I'm asking Creator and all the spirits around and above, if you see fit, help to cure this person or cure this person. Now, they have to accept it. They have to accept the healing. That's another thing, Miss Phoebe. Have you ever heard of accepting healing? Right. Okay. I'm going to read it out. You have to be particular in words. And I always ask God, not any other deity. And my stuff worked well. Okay. This was sort of like a caveat, if you will. There is healing coming in from galactics, the cosmos, just regular energy. By saying, I accept the healing. Any construct that has been placed upon us by external forces or ourselves. It could be simply the mind control and the flashing lights with commercials that has us subjected and in our particular mindset that understanding healing on a quantum level, on a personal level, is or isn't possible. They have blocked these things. I mean, I've got doctor friends who were really intelligent, are drooling out the sides of their mouth these last couple of weeks. I'm like, what? What? I mean, and I don't mean they had an accident or anything. I mean that their brain cells and what's going on and these things and Trump or this. I mean, they're just their anger and their vehemence, rabid dogs. Oh my God. These are people I've respected for years. And now I'm going, I don't know about this, but they won't even speak to me. Oh, David, we love you. Stay away. Okay. So in this, I learned that our defense mechanisms that have been placed on us by society has told our brains we can't heal. We can't heal unless we take a pill. We can't heal unless we go to the doctor. We can't heal unless we go to the hospital. We can't be healed unless we have surgery. We can't be healed unless they tell us this since birth. You can't have a baby at home. Why not? They used to do it all the time. Oh my God, you know, oh, you can't have a baby at home. Why? So we have been subconsciously taught. Our body has listened to this because we haven't heard otherwise from anyone else, that we can accept the healing energy of the natural cosmos if we just say so. I accept my prayers. I accept and receive the healing from Creator, from Source, from Mother Earth, Father Sky, and Sister Moon. I accept and receive all the wisdom and the teachings that you wish to impart upon me. I accept and I receive all the messages you wish me to hear. I accept and receive the love of Creator and of Source. And I love you all from my soul heart and the heart of my soul. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. It is said, it is done. Boom. That's my prayer. That simple prayer is continuing to heal me. Now, I had been healed up to a point, but then there was this little thing I had to learn about accepting what's already there. Now, I was like, well, yeah, okay, but all this is a learning experience. You know, I've gotten this information over 50 years of searching. This hasn't come easy. Actually, it's been longer than 50 years, but the accepting of what's already there. Now, I was accepting, okay, God's going to heal me. Creator, okay. But the next step was, but he, she, Creator, it, you don't need it because Creator's already given it to us. It's already here. But we have been taught not to look at it. Native Americans, I mean, you know, when I see these folks and go to the powwows, and when I found out that I had, you know, a good chunk of Native American blood in me as well, I understood that that's why I like the outdoors. That's why I like this and that and this. Okay. So my predisposition to certain things is heretical. It has come down from grandmother, 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 grandmother. And I've had grandmother White Dove come, and she manifested herself and spoke to me several times. White Dove. Oh, my goodness. Good stuff, though. But through all of these steps, learning and looking, as much as I thought I had it together, and I did, but there were little tiny little itty bitty little crumbs that weren't in the picture. And so I was getting some effect of it. I wasn't dying, and I was healing really slow and kind of clunky. But then all of a sudden, when I learned that I needed to accept it out loud, well, you can say it in your head. That's sort of out loud. But on a continuous basis. And when you speak the words, I accept and receive the healing being given to me by the Creator, by the cosmos, by Source. There are beings that live just off of light. That's all they need, just light. We, if we don't get enough vitamin D and sunlight, it does bad things. And the fact that the sun has changed colors has a great deal to do with our mental health and stability, because the current wavelength of light coming off the sun now has shifted to the blue. It's not orange like it used to be. People are calling it white. But if you look at it with a digital camera and you try to take pictures of something, I use this little Canon right here. I've been using Canon cameras for a long time. Most new cameras have, vitamin D. And other simple minerals. Minerals is what's important. The vitamins are cool, but people are sweating their minerals right out of their body. Oh, and drink distilled water. Did you know that distilled water removes the minerals from your body? Because it's been distilled. Water acts like a magnet. And if you take everything out of it and then put it in your body, it's going to want to absorb what you just took out of it. So people who are drinking distilled water have got a gun in their mouth, and they won't listen for shit. But if you talk to a chemist who knows about the properties of distilled water, why they use distilled water is so it'll absorb crap. So you put distilled water in I know people who drink 3 or 4 or 5 quarts of distilled water per day and wonder why they're thirsty. I spent 3 days on the river with a quart of liquid, and I didn't die. They would have been dead at the end of the first week or the first night, because they have leached all of their own minerals and vitamins out of their body. They have pissed it and sweat it out because they're using distilled water. The science of these people who are telling you to be healthy, 3 meals a day. No, you don't. One of the first things I try to tell people during prepping, learn how to get by on 1 meal a day and a snack in the morning and the evening. Try to get by on 1 meal a day. You can do it. I used to be 250 pounds. I'm 173 now. How did I lose 70 pounds? By doing simple things, exercising and walking and stuff like that. But it was more of I don't have to be 250 pounds. This is too much weight to carry around. Oh, and I had to supplement it. I had to feed it. I had to bathe it. I had to fill it full of drink. And the more there was of me, the more there was to take care of. So as I lost weight and got back into a healthy mode, I started learning 6 days without eating, but will drop weight fast. I'm on a semi-fast condition, meaning that I might go in and scramble me up a couple of eggs, and I have grown some really good potatoes this year. I got some those red new potatoes, woo! But I like to slice them up and put them in just a little bit of oil, and fry them, and then do scrambled eggs with them, and then pour a bunch of ketchup on top. I just love it. Ooh, crap, Phoebe. Whoa, not in 6 days you didn't. Or you didn't drop that much in 6 days, did you? Holy mackerel. To my point, though, the little bit that I eat, I haven't gone to the doctor since October of last year. So I'm curious about, in months. Yeah, right. Potatoes grew under the back stairs. Good for you. I grew some in containers in the ground. I dug trenches and I put stuff. I tried all different kinds of methods. And I probably got 10 pounds of potatoes in the big tub that I grew them in this year. And they're the purple potatoes. Ooh, I haven't tried those yet. But the thing about the healing and what we have, people are leaching things out of their body with the intent purpose of being healthy because somebody said so. And I guess about 10 days ago, I was watching something. It was just something that kind of popped up that was like, it was similar to what I had just watched. And it was all about diet and water and how people were killing themselves. And the man had an absolutely beautiful point. He goes, people who run and this, and he was giving different things. And also last night, listening to Jeff Doherty and Scott, anyway, he was talking about that, people who run, how much pressure you put on your knees when you hit the ground, and what your feet and your whole body. And that these people who are, quote, athletic and everything, if they run so many miles every day, by the time they get to 66, they're having their hips replaced, their knees replaced, their ankles are gone, their calves are bad. I broke my knee. Well, I didn't break it. The other guy did, but broke it for me in 1967. The last time I went to a class reunion, they were taking bets to see whether or not I would come in with a cane, a walker, or in a wheelchair, because they all knew how bad. Oh, Miss Marie, how are you, my dear? They were all taking bets on how if I was going to be able to walk into the class reunion because of age. And all of a sudden, dun, da, da, da. Did you get any odd stuff from the geomatic storm in January? Yeah, been getting a lot of stuff. And what I'm trying to do in some of these videos, in a way, is talk it out, because it's like, well, there's nobody I can sit and have a conversation with around me, simply because this shit's too crazy. I mean, my family refuses to even broach the subject. Even when they see certain things happen, I warn them. I mean, even my daughter, who's supposed, oh, you did? You shared my orb video? Holy crap. That was kind of cool. I got more orbs I want to show, but they're on another computer hard drive. A boatload. And a lot of them were taken at the same place that I took the pictures of the orbs the other night. But, so I'm getting downloads of stuff, and I'm sitting looking out the window, scratching my head, going, what did that mean? And so sometimes it's that it's so off the wall, you kind of scratch your head and just, I'm not too sure about this. I don't know. Did I dig them up yet? The potatoes. half dug. But so with that though, in one of the conversations I was having, Marie might have been in on it when I was talking about a walk-in. I've had different versions of it myself. And I was like, well, I don't know. So, but after the video, I did some serious meditating on it. And I had never asked before. So I said, was that a walk-in? And yep, it was. And then all of a sudden, it made sense. We just got a good lot of rain here. Good. You needed it too, didn't you? Yeah. And since the last time I've talked to Marie, we've had almost 6 inches of rain here in the last 2 weeks. And that should have brought the river up enough to run in my backyard. It still isn't. It's not even flowing yet. That's how bad of drought we have been in here in South Georgia, by the way. Thank you for the rain and all my tanks are filled up and well looks good and all that. But I sure wish the river would run again. It's been 5 years. And maybe there's a reason for it, but I don't know. So with the healing things that are being shown to us that are actually lies, like, oh, distilled water. No, you want to kill yourself? Drink distilled water. Drink filtered water with minerals in it. Spring water. Spring water is pure water with minerals. It's not distilled. So people who are like, oh, well, you should do this. No, you shouldn't. If you think you could drink distilled water for a day or so, if you were like trying to get rid of internal something in your stomach or whatever. But if you're drinking distilled water on any regular basis, stop. You're killing yourself. And I wished I could remember this gentleman's name, but he was a chemist, biology type person, not a doctor. But he goes, all the cells need energy and this and that. But when you put the cells under stress, and he gave clear examples of how, people who sweat too much. Oh, well, I'm just getting in the groove. Let me sweat for another half. I'm not talking about people who are working naturally in sweat. No, people who are trying to sweat. That it creates such a imbalance in the system because we're made out of a lot of water. So if you sweat a bunch and then you try to replace it, you've got this osmosis thing going on with your cells inside your body. It's releasing and then it's gaining and then it's releasing and it's gaining and it's really, it ain't supposed to do that. It's supposed to be swimming around mostly in good water all the time or liquid, But then if you start depleting it and then replacing it and depleting it and replacing it, and then you replace it with the wrong shit with nothing in it, and it takes more of the stuff out. But these health nut people are like, oh, but this is so good for you. And oh, Twinkie, Twinkie, doodle, doodle. And I'm like, oh my God. And some of these people are 15 years younger than me and they look older than me. And I've had a hard life. But that's not the point. I'm like, man, you're only 45 and you look like you just been through the mill. Oh, well, see, now, correct way. Now, yes, a sauna. Like I used to do sweat lodge. Okay. As a shaman, that's part of your training, right? So with the sweat lodge, oh my gosh, the sweat. Whoo, especially if you do it with real Indians and a medicine man, Now, I've seen some of these other people like, oh, but that's too hot. Yes, like an American. Yeah. Yep. But I don't know. I've known a lot of people over the years and sweat lodge this and that. Excuse me. I'm going to have to take my meds in a few. I'm going to have to go. I got to take meds and yep, I'm going to have to take meds. Yep. I'm 2 hours late. I was trying to see how long I could go. It's been 14 hours since I took the meds. And I usually take them at 10 or 12. So, Try some vitamin water. This is zero name, but I drink it one a day, plus take my other vites. I wouldn't drink any water from any other source unless if it comes in a plastic bottle, don't drink it. I'm serious. What is happening with the PCBs? They literally line the plastic bottles with another plastic. And that because water is water, it leaches the plastic out of the plastic because it's water. And if it's distilled water, it leaches even more plastic into the thing. And I'm here to tell you, I dug my well with a shovel and a post hole diggers through 22 feet of Georgia clay. When my water comes out sometimes, especially after good hard rain, it's a little murky looking. Now, water doesn't drain into it through the top, but if there's a sufficient rain on my hill, it will come up from the bottom up. But because causes cancer. But the thing is how do you get your water? Is it coming out of a pipe or, does it come from? Does it come down a plastic pipe? How long has it been sitting in the plastic pipe? It's like the black water that's showing up on the internet the last few days, and Detroit and up there's been Flint's been having horrible issues with water. A lot of cities are having issues with water, and the crap that they put in the water, quote, to purify it, is taking out a lot of the minerals and so forth. But when it sits in these decrepit old rusty tubes underground, which are the greatest conditions for crap to grow in that. And folks, turn it on and it smells and you can light it, or there's so much bleach in the tap water that it will turn your skin white if you wash. I mean, unbelievable. My hair went almost tan from my, quote, dark brown gray because I was bathing. I stayed in town for about a week and that was chlorine water. And it like it killed me. I mean, I got my natural beauty hair. I wash my hair with a little natural soap here. And most of the time I just rinse it. When I quit using shampoo, I quit having dandruff. Now I wash my hair, but without shampoo. I don't have dandruff anymore. I mean, it went away like within 2 weeks of quitting shampoo. And I used all the favorite, dandruffs for that. I rinse my hair the same way. I do all the same things, except I don't use shampoo anymore, and I don't get any signs of dandruff, regardless. My water has got clay in it, and I found out that the clay that's in my water is what people are buying and eating to get their minerals back. Now, old timers around here, there are clay pits, and they would go once a month and get a bag of clay. And during that month's time, they would nibble on it. I'm like, you're eating clay? Yep. Now, that was 15 years ago. Now, all of a sudden, people are like, diatomaceous earth. I live on 18 acres. It's underneath me. I live on 18 acres of diatomaceous earth. All I got to do is drill a hole down into it and collect the water from it. Yeah, that's right, Phoebe. If you send them in, it's like if I told anybody that I had an open hole as my well, they'd shut it off. And I've been drinking that water for 30 years. It took me a few years to dig it, but I've been here on this property for 35 at least, and I've been drinking that water. And other than the fact that I had kidney issues years back, but that was because I was drinking too much coffee. I was living in town a lot and traveling, blah, 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 lifestyle crazy. But once I got back onto my water and got back onto my land and Mother Earth and took certain precautions, I don't have kidney problems anymore. I don't have this, I don't have that, blah, blah, blah. And come to find out, with all these specialists now, the cloudy water I'm drinking has just enough of the clay in it that I get my minerals naturally, right out of the ground. Oh boy, naturally. Other people can do it too, but the point is that everything has been modernized to the point where we don't know what we have. And if you have to have city water, there are things you can do to get rid of the chlorine. Don't ever drink it out of the tap. Always put it in a ceramic or glass jug. Let it sit overnight with the top on it, but with the lid loose. You know, Phoebe, I'm just gonna play devil's advocate here. You say, I did buy a home test kit. Our water is fine. Now, I say that like this. To whose standards? Just saying. To whose standards? Not saying your water is bad or good or whatever, but it's the damn government. And they've lied to us about so much crap. How do we know the test kit is okay and that your water, oh, it's okay? Or was it meant to find a problem? You see what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. I know they told me, I've had so many people tell me, David, you can't drink that water on your place because it's a shallow well. And I'm like, why? Well, because it's a shallow well. Okay, why? Well, you get surface water. All right. Well, around here in this farming area, and it's all around, you know, they're sucking so much water up out of the aquifer that it's taken 6 inches of rain and my rivers still don't run. That's how bad it is around here. But that they've sucked so much water out of these things, they've had issues with back pressure and pumps failing, which has sucked poison and fertilizer back down into the aquifer hundreds of feet below the surface. My well's 20 feet. It gets filtered by the land I live on, which is natural pine trees, scrub. But I'm going to die because of my water. When other people with deep wells are coming up with cancers and all these other kinds of things. And I'm like, but then they find out that, well, they're trace, you know, that water used to be pure coming out of the ground at 250, 300 feet. It's not anymore. My neighbor, 200 yards from me, 200 yards, 2 football fields, he had great water at 275 feet 15 years ago. They have had to go back in, and he's now at almost 400 feet. And his well went dry last October, November. He was in more of a pickle than I was. And my well was 22 feet deep. But there was water at the bottom of it. I could get enough to do some personal things. Couldn't water the garden. Couldn't take a full shower. But I could wash, rinse, make coffee. I had enough to get by. Creator saw to that. Not counting my tanks that I have, but he was out of water entirely. With a well at 400 foot. Nope, not fracking, but chemicals from all. We are highly agriculture down here. Big pivot systems, huge pivot systems. Not like out in Texas now, but we still, Colquitt County, it's amazing how much cabbage they grow here, for example, in the wintertime. Unbelievable. Cantaloupe, unbelievable how much they grow here. Cotton, same thing. Used to be tobacco. Not that anymore. But So these wells have leached chemical. They get a tank, and as the water comes out of the well, it siphons the poison and fertilizer, whatever, into the pivot irrigation, and then it gets sprayed on everything, right? All right, but when they shut the pump off, if a seal is leaking, when the pump shuts off and the water drops back down, it sucks the poison, whatever in the tank that's supposed to only go siphon one way, ends up going back down the well. And after the last 15 years, there have been enough accidents. Accidents happen. I'm not saying this is on purpose, but enough accidents have happened around here to now these, Roundup, the glyphosates, and all these other things are showing up from deep water wells. But I'm going to die because mine's only 20 foot. And it's got runoff and all these horrible things for the last 35 years they told me was going to happen to Dave. I'm still here. I don't have kidney problems. Blah, 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 blah. How am I dying? And now they're telling everybody to go out and get some, buy 2 minutes clay and eat it because it's good for you. That's what comes out of my garden. Out of my well. So the things that they told me was wrong then all of a sudden become right. Isn't that interesting? So when I talk to folks and I say, there are things that I've learned and things that I've seen and, do everything they say, is everything a lie? Well, by golly, I'm finding out there ain't a whole lot of truth they actually did tell me. You know what I'm saying? Because when I look around and see things and I go, well, wait a minute, that test came out and blah, blah, blah. And now all of a sudden, after 20 years of drinking distilled water, now all of a sudden, they're not telling everybody. They're not telling everybody that holding the phone up to your ear is going to give you brain cancer neither. And that it messes with all your neurons inside. Anybody that holds a phone up to their head, we are a huge experiment. Absolutely. I have a doctor that I've been seeing. She's a wonderful lady for almost 20 years. She is a doctor, but she knows about ghosts and spirits and energies and things. But she's still a doctor. And she hasn't been able to have that belief 100% herself because she's still pushing pills. But her intent is good. And she really thinks that somehow this is really good. And she has seen results with her patients. But she's been deceived as well. And even though her heart is in such, this woman gave me $100 out of her back pocket one time because I was poor and didn't have any food and had lost my job. She's a friend as well. So when I speak about this doctor, I'm not, it ain't just a clinical, and I have a couple of friends that know her through work and things, and she's a wonderful lady. Cusses like a sailor. Oh my gosh. MF this and oh my gosh, what a red-haired, freckled, about a little shorter than me, about 5'8" or 9, maybe about 5'9". Country girl, blue jeans, flannel shirts in the wintertime. But a good doctor. Now, with that said, there are things that she has been keeping an eye on as a doctor, but it's like in order for her to stay a doctor, she still has to play by certain games. And the games are that she's passing out poison, basically. And I want to be able to go back to her and say, I haven't seen you in the last 9 months, and I'm going to have to go back and see her because I need another medicine that I think I need. But anyway, and Medicare will pay for it too. It's a lot cheaper that way. I want to walk in and go, see, I'm still 170 pounds. My blood pressure's normal for my age. A lot more normal than most other places. My blood sugar level, good. I've learned how to jump again, and wow, I've started riding my bike again, which I couldn't do. I mean, okay, here are the things. Now, how did I reach this spot? I quit taking your medicine. Dave, so how you doing? Fine. I got rid of 15 pills a day or 25 pills a day, and now I'm down to this and certain vitamins and minerals. Really? I want to go back in as an example of myself to a doctor I've had for 20 years, a wonderful woman now, and say, see, doc, things can be different. And maybe you should look into some of these drugs that you are expected to peddle. So, internal healing, absolutely. We got to believe. We have to believe. Experiment. Get some colored sand from Walmart, fill it halfway with sand, then add water. Take some sand out. It will make the water go down as well. Right. Well, that's just displacement. But did you know, for example, that if you take a 5-gallon bucket and fill it full of beach sand, clean white sand or play sand from, the store, from Lowe's or something, if you fill it, pack it down pretty good, but not tamp it, that if you trickle water through that 5-gallon bucket, that what will come out, now you don't pour it in, you just let it trickle. It'll collect and it'll run through, put a hole at the bottom on the side, and a glass or ceramic type collection. That will take a lot of impurities out of the water. Because a friend of mine used to go, he was one of the first people to work on reverse osmosis with the DuPont company as a chemist back in the late 60s. And a dear friend of mine lived right down the road from me, guru of water. And the things that simple things like, people don't know this. And he said that 2 foot of sand will get rid of most organic types of things. And that 3 foot of sand will take, depending on the chemical, bonded to the water. But he was just like, if you go out, this was more of if you're in the swamp and you got dirty water and it's just dirty water with some amoeba or whatever, that if you put it through 3 foot of sand, you will likely, most stuff will come out. And I was like, no, I didn't know that. Well, then they had a program a couple of years ago, and they would take a group of people, and this one particular one, they went into a section of town that was closed off, and they were doing some kind of apocalyptic prepper, make it through, and how can you do with this and that. And one of the things they needed was a way to distill water. And the first thing one of the guys come up with was, guess what? It was a 5-gallon bucket full of sand and charcoal. That's the other thing, charcoal. The charcoal will filter out a lot of the chemicals. So you put charcoal on the bottom and a bunch of sand, or sand, charcoal, sand, however you get there. But that a 5-gallon bucket could save your butt if you weren't sure of the water source. Now, I don't recommend drinking water from anything plastic. And I don't know of anything that water comes in that ain't plastic, at least in the United States. Now, there are places you can go to get water with a jug of your choice. But, I mean, I have plastic jugs with water in it. I'm guilty. But those are my emergency. And most of the time, my emergency water is for cleaning and doing and other things. But I also know about filtration. Like a filtration system, the way they layer those bottles. Right. I've got one of those where it's got a section in it. It's about this thick and it's got all kinds of crap in it. And well, you pour mud in the bottom of it and twist it and then do this thing and it comes out clear. Well, I get a lot of charcoal taste and stuff out of it when I do mine, but eh, I guess it might be the brand you buy too. But to the point, they're taking this much stuff and crappy water, and it's good. So I would actually trust 2 foot of sand better than I would trust that much. You know what I'm saying? In retrospect. But we as human beings have lost so many things, like the Native Americans. You know, they just grew up with knowing shit, you know, and they knew Mother Earth, and they knew the ground, and they knew the earth, and they knew respect about things that white people just don't get most of the time, which is sad. And so with all the things that are going on, especially now with all these changes, the folks who are getting it have caught on to these little tidbits. Mother Earth is alive. Trees are alive. A rock is alive. And you don't have to go into woo-woo just to understand it's God's creation, and that all things that were created are of some way, shape, or form living. Oh, and quantum mechanics is proving that fact. Yeah, right. I agree. Somebody said something about, hunting and this and that, but, they go out in their garden and, and they can eat. And I was like, have you ever heard a spinach scream? And they look at me and go, huh? I said, have you ever heard spinach scream? What do you mean? And I said, I have. Oh, but you're crazy, Dave. Well, I know, but it's a living thing. You mean that if I go out and pluck leaves off of a living anything, but spinach was the topic, I said, that plant's going to scream because I just ripped its arm off. Oh, well, you're full of shit. Well, that may be, and I need to go take a dump, but it's a living thing. If you rip the arm off of a rabbit, what's it going to do? Scream. What if you do? If I ripped your toenail off, what are you going to do? Well, I would scream. Well, then our plants don't scream. Well, I don't know. Well, why shouldn't they? Why couldn't they? A plant can't scream? I mean, but animals, vegetarians, God bless them. But they get all on this thing about murdering animals, but they'll eat live vegetables and think nothing of it. Oh, but it's spinach. It's alive. No, it's not. It's spinach. No, it's alive. But it's spinach. It's live spinach, fool. Pay attention. You're giving up all these other things over here because of blah, 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 but then you don't realize you're eating living things. No, I'm not. It grew, didn't it? Yeah. Then you ate a living thing. No, it didn't. It was a vegetable. Do vegetables scream? Well, I've heard them. Have you? No. Okay. But the animal screams because I heard it. I heard cows moo. But you didn't hear a plant moo, did you? No. What does spinach say? Hi. But I don't hear spinach, but I hear cows, and I hear sheep, and oh my God, that's horrible. But yes, thank you, Phoebe. What Native Americans do as a process of life, when they shoot an animal, they fast for a day before they go. And then they ask Creator to allow the animal to be shot. I said this to my grandson when first time he shot a deer. I said, John, I know you're going out with your buds and prove yourself, and that's cool. And you all are going to eat the deer. It's not just a trophy. And I was teaching native ways. And I said, John, if the deer wants, ask it. And he understood what I was talking about. And I said, when you're looking down your scope of your 30-30 and you see whatever deer is out there, ask Creator Ask when you look through that thing, because that deer's going to know you're there. Especially if you're taking a bead on him, he's going to be aware of you. And I said, what Native Americans have always said, ask. Will you give up your life so I may feed my family? And so John said, Pops, I saw this one deer, and he turned right around and looked at me. And he said, but something told me, no, don't shoot. And he goes, he put his head down, lifted it up, and took 2 steps. He said, then walked in this older buck with, 10 points, but obviously older. And it's good to have older bucks, but in a neighborhood where there are too many older deer, you got to cull some of the older ones out. So he said, Pops, I looked in my scope and I said he said, I whispered to myself, if you will allow me, I am hunting to feed my family, which he was, his wife and a cousin that was staying with them. And they're both going to school and no money, blah, blah, blah. And so it was true. So he said that deer looked at him and he said, Pops, I could feel those deer's eyeballs going right into my brain. And he said the deer nodded and just stood there and turned his head to a profile. And he said, I dropped him with 1 shot. He went straight down, didn't run, didn't jump. He went straight down. And he goes, Pops, he said, that's the best venison I've ever had. And I said, that's because you asked and you allowed. So now that's one side of the coin. But to your side, Phoebe, when you pick an herb for any reason, you should ask the plant, or at least say, I am picking a few of your leaves for whatever purpose, for healing or spice or whatever. And that's the respect. And so the old Native American stories are that the animals and the plants used to speak to man. But because man became so disrespectful, the plants and the animals and the rocks decided they wouldn't speak to man anymore unless they were have a certain respect. And that's what's happening now. People are having contact with earth and animals and things, but those people also understand the value of that respect, the value of the plant that is growing. Oh, I'm a vegan and I wouldn't kill anything. Well, you just slaughtered all. Do you know how long it takes to grow the spinach you just ate? I mean, no, you don't care. But I'm eating vegetables. It's so sad. And I think that some of these folks, and I'm going to say this and in the closing in a few minutes here, 3 hours and 27 minutes, 28. Some of these people need to go to hell. And I don't mean go to the fiery burning. No, they need to go visit what would be hell to them, to see, to hear a spinach scream. I mean, the thing about vegetables are fruits. Now, the Garden of Paradise was supposed to have fruit. Now, tomatoes are fruit, squash is a fruit. They were living as they were living, but they don't grow by themselves. Whereas the leaf or something, I mean, you could take a piece of a squash, not squash so easy, but other plants. And if the limb gets cut off and you put it in dirt and water it, it could continue to grow. Tomatoes will do it. So the fruit of the vine is the best for all of us. Even in potatoes, they're a fruit. They're pomme de terre. They're an apple of the earth. But so those things that we seek or need, once we ask, and if we choose the fruit of the plant, we're even more better off. But at least have respect for the plants we do pick, because it's just part. it should be part of the nature. And now the Native American cultures, a lot of indigenous, I mean, the Aboriginals of Australia and things that I have learned. I haven't been there, I did speak to one once, and we had wonderful discussion. But to the point, though, it all boils down to an internal core respect for all living things, and that all things are living. Therefore, you have respect for everything. And when you achieve that particular goal and knowledge, the healing comes. Your belief that it can happen, and believe it 101%. And know, because you have that core value. You have respected everything. When you respect creation, even the negative, I mean, a moccasin isn't a bad snake until it bites you. Same thing with a rattlesnake. A rattlesnake's just a rattlesnake till he bites you. And then it's, holy crap. Everything in nature is that way. And I have been in a situation, it was cute. There was a movie I was watching the other day, and it was, a monk teaching a young kid, and they were sitting by the river, and this big, huge bear comes out. And so the first thing that the apprentice does is draw his sword to slay no, it wasn't a bear, it was a lion. And so, but anyway, pulled his sword, and he was like going to defend the old monk sitting by the river, and the old monk looked at him and said, "Put your sword down." And it was a huge lion or tiger, whatever, cat. And so the old man picked a pebble up from the stream and threw it at the tiger, lion, whatever, and said, "Okay, good to see you today. Go on." And the big cat left. And the apprentice is standing there going, "Oh." And the old man says, "I've lived on this mountain for years, and we know each other. And he was just coming by, and you happened to be here. And, he hasn't harmed me in 40 years. Why would he harm me now?" So this old man, this old hermit, shaman, whatever he was just showing that as I live with nature, nature will live with me. And I thought, whoa, that is so cool. And it was this little 3-minute section in this movie, right? And I was like, if people understood that little scene right there could be a whole movie of teaching, that one little scene, because it's so important. The first thing most people are afraid of whatever it is, and they draw their sword. Oh my God, I can't deal with this. Oh, whatever it might be. If you put your sword down and listen, I was on in Arkansas on the Buffalo River, in one of the most secluded places on the river. And we had done a camp overnight. Now, I know not to leave stuff out for bears and things like that. It was way up in the tree and tied off, what little bit we had. Another part of it was in a cooler in the canoe, and it was tied down. Anyway, you couldn't smell anything through it. But now here's something I had not thought about. I had a peanut butter Reese's cup before I turned in for that night as a little snack. And I got rid of the paper, burned it in the fire. But the smell of peanut butter on my mustache and just on my breath must have drawn that bear, because I woke up about 4 a.m. with a bear's nose pushing on the back of the tent right above my head. And my spouse at the time, I'm not married now, single. Don't want to be single, but that's another story. She's like, little bear, I said, shut up. Little bear, this, shut up. Now, there's a piece of paper between us and a 600-pound black bear in the wilderness. And she wants to be real loud and piss the bear off. And I'm trying to tell her, be quiet. Just be quiet. Because I understood about Mother Nature. I understood about critters. And I knew from a dream that I'd had that a bear was going to cross my path at some point on this journey. And it came right to the back of the tent. Somewhere I have pictures of the feet print and where it shuffled behind the tent and then walked on down and up the mountain. But to the point, though, I thought to myself, it was the peanut butter on my breath, because that bear's nose was this far from me in the wild and only a piece of cloth separating us. Why didn't he maul us? Why, so many other people have had bear attacks and things like that. Why not? Because I'd said my prayers and I had made an offering to the bear. I put it on the other end of the sandbar. He went there first and then came to the tent and then kept going. But to the point, I left him an offering, a little something to munch on, scraps, And I, with intent, I said, this is for bear down here. If I leave this for bear down here, that he don't smell anything where we're at, good. It's a distraction, but it's also a gift. So my spouse at the time, even though she claimed she was Blackfoot Indian and knew all this shit, didn't know shit. Because I had to calm her down. Now, I didn't realize until after the bear had gone why I had to calm her down. It's because she had killed so many black bears up in Minnesota and up in there for food and whatever. And, and that she had killed as many as 25 black bears in her lifetime up to that point. And I was like, oh, shit. Did you say a prayer to the bear? No, because I shoot bears. And I was like, well, you get out of my tent. I mean, we don't think like that here. I didn't know that. You mean you would rather shoot a bear as to look at it or whatever? Yeah. This is a little skinny ass woman, and I'm like, what? Well, I shoot black bear. But you're an Indian, right? Blackfoot. Oh, then I've come to find out the tribe she came from, they were cannibals and did some really weird shit. No wonder she went and shot bears without thinking. And with all her nativeness, she not a clue. So respect of all things. Respect when you eat these things. Thank you, Creator. Thank you, Mother Earth. Mother Earth needs more respect than, Creator. Creator made Mother Earth. But Mother Earth has made all these things on it. And so when we pray, when we ask with good intent, because I went out in the garden, I couldn't get anything to grow last year. And I went out there with some crystals and my drum, and I sat down and I said, garden, spirits around here, Mother Earth, I really need for you to grow me something. And I mean, I use all chicken manure. I got 18 acres. Why do I need to go get dirt from somewhere, I make my own dirt with fertilizer and stuff. So this year, I was able to grow potatoes for the first time in many moons. Many years, I have not been able to grow potatoes. I got a wonderful crop this year. I had other things come up. The mullein is coming up by itself all over the garden. I had some spinach come up as volunteers from spinach I planted last year. So I got my wish simply by going out to the garden, in my humble opinion, and asking, what do you need? Show if there's a mineral you need, if there's water you need, if there's something I need to bring to the garden, let me know. But I'm asking you to please allow some vegetables to grow. I love you all. I thank you all, to all the ethereal beings and all the the little critters that are running around and, and the big beings that I can't see, I ask you to let my garden grow some this year, please. And oh my God, it started growing. I do rotate crops. I do. Now my garden is not very big, so it's like this row this year had something in it, and instead of potatoes, now it's going to grow greens, and I can only move one row over. I don't have a very large garden. But what I have learned, though, is that if I'm careful and do a particular area, I've just thrown seeds out in the damn yard, and they come up better than me planting them in the garden. It don't make sense. It don't make sense. But I found out through this last year that someone had cursed my land back when they cursed that ceremony that we did. And so I had to come in and kind of undo some of that. I'm still working on that. But apparently there was a grievous bunch of crap that was literally placed on this property by a neighbor up the hill. Black art, magic, nasty. I've got a lot of that cleaned off. And things are growing. Potatoes are doing better. This is doing better. I still can't grow a damn squash for whatever reason. But I'm working everything to an inside. It's going to be half and half, meaning that it will get enough direct sunlight, but not enough for a full grow. So it'll have supplemental sun, but then I'm going to have light fixtures as well. So, but okay, it's almost 4 hours I've been at this, and I really got to take my meds because my nose is running, dripping. I hope you can't see it because it's really nasty. Miss Phoebe, wait, let me go back up. I heard you need to rotate. Yeah. Next year I have to put tomatoes on the other side. I have maybe 40 plus tomato plants. I tried that last year and they beat me to death. And then while I'm growing the tomatoes, the bugs moved in, and I had 2 days of kind of can't get up and tired and energy hitting me. I went out, and within 2 days, there were so many worms on my tomato plants that the tomatoes were gone, the leaves were gone. It was in 2 days it was invaded. And the plant, there were stalks and there were pieces. And I was like, what? So moths and all types of different kinds of worms. Oh, butterflies? No, butterflies are bad. Whoa. Because they have little worms before they are butterflies, and the worms love greens. What do I do about worms? I feed them to my chickens, but then they got to get big enough. But usually I take a pair of glasses that are twice as strong as my little reading glasses here, and I go out and I'll do it at night because they'll come out when it's cooler. And I just squash them right on the leaf, just because usually they're only this big and hard to pick off. The bigger ones that get away from you and do damage, those get fed to the chickens. Talk about recycling. I've used different kinds of poisons. One of the things that worked up to a point was that you collect the bugs and put them in a blender and turn them into a slurry of bug juice. Add a little soap, just a little, and a little mouthwash, I think it was, just a little, and put it in a spray bottle. Now, you got to strain the body parts out or puree it enough it'll come out, or make the hole big enough on the end of your spray thingy. But that if you sprayed the dead bug juice on the plants, they don't like to eat themselves, or they're not cannibals. I digress. Yes, they are. If they could, they'd eat them. But anyway, so I've tried all types of things. Now, the simplest things I found were by accident. And one thing I found out, that plain old borax, 20 mule team borax from the old days, I think it's $3 or $4 a box for a 2-pound box at Walmart. About the only place I can find it down here now. But if you sprinkle borax, which is boric acid, sort of like, which is what people use for the roach spray stuff around, borax I put it around the house where I was having an infestation of, and it wasn't from my house. I mean, they were literally flying in, cockroaches. You could see them come in at night. They'd fly and they call them German cockroaches down here. Bad infestation the last few years. Bad. I mean, it used to be just around somebody's house or something. Now you go out and they're in piles of wood out in the woods. They're everywhere. I don't know how this infestation got here. But to keep them out of the house, I was like, I don't like to use poisons. I don't like to do this. So I put down some borax. And I was scrubbing my floor with the borax and water and, and doing my thing. And I left a little around the edges, not on purpose. I got tired. I couldn't finish the job. And so there was this trace amount of borax all around in my kitchen area. And where I'd swept some of it out the door, there was a little bit around the door. I mean, just a little tiny line around the bottom of the doorways. You'd have to get down with a, toothbrush kind of thing to get it out. I could see it. That was it. But no roaches came in the house, and the ones that were there I found in the middle of the floor going around in circles in a death mill. What? So I tried another experiment. I tried another part of the house. And then I tried it outside. Borax, they don't like borax. The fleas, right. There's a lot of things. It gets in their little hairs or something. I'm not sure. Even mice don't like it too much. But my roach problem, I saw a couple in the house for the first time in almost 2 years. And they're the big palmetto bugs that live in the woods, and they're here. But I know people who spend thousands of dollars a year of poison, and all I got to do is throw a little borax out. And it's a soap, Pine Sol does? Some of them do, yeah. All right, my dear friends, Miss Phoebe, Miss Marie, you're the only two left here. I love you, I do. From my soul heart to yours, I wish you blessings, healing, wisdom, knowledge, and to have the veil lifted the rest of the way so that you can see what is in you already and what is natural in us already. That's my prayer to you. And to anyone else that might get this far in the video, that prayer is for you. And some people think I'm kidding. I go on Facebook, and the first thing I say is greetings and blessings to all. And they think I'm saying that just to be nice. No, I mean it. My intent. We need to wish this to each person. And in my childhood of growing up and learning about Jesus through the Catholic Church, mind you, thank you very much, Phoebe. Thank you very much, Marie. Believe it or not, Marie, I mean, we've never met. I don't have a picture of you. That's okay. My point is, though, is that I was thinking about something we had discussed a couple of weeks ago, and I got this wonderful smile, and I thought, and it happened on Father's Day just the other day. Not one of my children wished me happy Father's Day. Not one of my brothers and sisters wished me a happy Father's Day. No one wished me a happy birthday that was a close friend. Someone from the other side of the world who I've never met actually, she's from Romania. We've had email contact off and on over the years, a little chat session here and there. Okay. She wishes me a happy Father's Day and sends me this really nice note. And I'm like, we've never met, except our spirits have touched. She has seen me. I've not seen a picture of her, but we've met in the realm. And so of all the people, you just think I wished happy birthday to my brother, because he's a father. And I wished happy Father's Day to other folks. Not one thing back. And I'm just like, it's okay. My point to this, though, is that They're ashamed of me and embarrassed when I talk about these particular subjects. But there are people like you, Marie, and you, Phoebe. You're not quite as far away. But and this friend in Romania, we've never met. But you give me more well-wishings than my family, my friends of my lifetime. That's a good thing. Because we, as this silent collective, is what we need to do. And we just keep passing it on. And we keep passing it on. And we pass it on. And this silent majority is slowly growing. And I've seen it. Now, there's a slight setback with some of this Trump stuff, but we need to keep our heads about this. We need to keep that focus. We need to not get caught up in the crazy. Because we're beyond that now, quite frankly, right? And that, so even though we have not met personally, I get really nice warm fuzzies just from the thought of our conversation, you know? And so I hope that some of this passes on to you. Not that I wish that you think about me. That's not where I'm headed. I'm because I have been so isolated by my friends and family themselves. I'll speak to them, but they won't speak back. Just so strange, you know? But when you reach this realm of thought and discussion, there are not too many people who even wish to have the conversation. So when I find folks, and when folks find me, and we can have the discussion without going, you're a fucking idiot, you know, or you're we should discuss, debate, stop the hate, negotiate, and we're all going to learn from each other. So I seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you, ladies. And Miss Phoebe, now you're on my list of folks in my head. But those of us who touch on this quantum level, and I thank you for thanking me, but and that's respect. And I don't, you know, I try to give respect to everyone, even though they don't deserve it, because it's what we should do. And so, but there are other people who don't look at it that way. If they don't agree with you, F you, you don't deserve anything, least of all respect. So I know I've spoke about a lot of things this morning, this evening. And I'm sure that you've already said, I have 70 now? Holy crap. Last time I checked, I think it had just hit 60. Wow, you guys went crazy. Phoebe and them, they did me a good turn today. There was probably 3 or 4 tonight. So thank you all. I appreciate it. As you probably already know, it ain't about clicks for me. You can pass this knowledge on, forward it, share, all that kind of good stuff. It is not about the clicks to me. It's about the message and us getting together and us sharing, not necessarily the knowledge, but just this, you know, the other plane, the thought, the being connected on that level, on that quantum level. Least expected. Yep. All right, listen, my dears, it's almost 4 o'clock in the morning here. About the same time for you too, Miss Phoebe. My coffee's gone. I'm thirsty, and my prostrate is arguing. To go pee pee. So I have more things to discuss. I shared on my interesting site. That is what it is titled. It just past 6 p.m. Yeah. You're on the other side of the world. But see, that's my point. I get more interaction with people on the other side of the planet than I do 5 minutes away from me. And that's a wonderful thing. And thank you both. So good night. I will hit the bell and be back. Okay. Love you both. Sleep well. Have a great day. And I will see you soon, I hope. Always in my dreams. Always in the astral. So be kind, be sweet, be compassionate. Goodbye, y'all.